The contract marriage
Good
was supposed to save them
morning.
both.
You must be Miss
Instead,
Clark. We're so
it
pleased to
awakened
meet
something
you.
neither of them
Thank you. It's
expected,
beautiful
a
here.
love that would challenge everything they thought they knew about second chances, and a family built from the broken pieces of two shattered lives. 5:45 in the morning. The alarm screamed into the darkness of the cramped Dorchester apartment, and Lillian Mitchell was already awake. She had been awake for 20 minutes, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a question mark. An appropriate shape, she thought, for a life full of questions with no good answers. The baby monitor crackled. 18-month-old Jack was stirring in his crib, making the soft humming sounds that meant he would be fully awake in 3 minutes. Lily rolled out of bed, her feet hitting the cold floor, and moved through the practiced choreography of a woman who had learned to function on 4 hours of sleep and pure determination. In the kitchen, she found the pile of mail she had been avoiding. White envelopes, some of them already opened, all of them containing numbers that made her chest tight. $95,000. That was the number that followed her everywhere, that woke her at 3 in the morning, that made her take every job she could find and still feel like she was drowning. Medical debt. The phrase sounded so clinical, so manageable. It did not capture the reality of watching your husband die slowly, of choosing between experimental treatments and bankruptcy, of learning that love could not save someone from a defective heart. Michael had collapsed on a Tuesday. By Thursday, he was gone. And then came the bills. $95,000 for 8 days in intensive care, for specialists and tests, and the desperate hope that somehow they could save him. Emma appeared in the doorway, 9 years old and far too serious for her age. She was already dressed for school, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail she had learned to do herself because Lily was always rushing, always late, always trying to hold together a life that kept threatening to fall apart. "Mom," the girl said quietly, "you have that look again?" Lily forced a smile, the same smile she had perfected over the past 4 years. "What look, sweetheart?" "The one where you are worried about money but pretending you are not." There was no hiding from a child who had learned to read the world through her mother's face. Lily crossed the small kitchen and pulled Emma into a hug, breathing in the scent of her daughter's shampoo, the cheap kind from the dollar store that Emma never complained about. "We are okay," Lily said, and it was only half a lie. They were surviving. That counted as okay in the mathematics of single motherhood. The baby monitor erupted in earnest crying now. Jack was awake and wanted attention. Lily kissed the top of Emma's head and moved to the bedroom she shared with her son. The apartment had 2 bedrooms, but Emma had claimed the second one when Jack was born, declaring that she was a big girl now and needed privacy. Really, Lily suspected, Emma had seen her mother's exhaustion and made the practical choice. That was Emma, always practical, always 3 steps ahead of where a 9-year-old should be. Jack stood in his crib, his face red and furious at being awake. The moment he saw his mother, though, his expression shifted to pure joy. That was the gift of babies, Lily thought. They had not yet learned disappointment. Jack reached for her with chubby arms, and she lifted him out, feeling the solid weight of him against her chest. "Good morning, troublemaker," she whispered. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. She knew what that meant. Debt collectors had bought her file 6 months ago, and they called it all hours, rotating through different numbers to catch her off guard. She let it go to voicemail. She would deal with it later. She always dealt with it later. By 6:15, she had Jack changed and fed, Emma eating cereal at the small kitchen table, and coffee brewing in the machine that took 5 minutes to make a cup because it was dying, but she could not afford to replace it. The apartment smelled like diapers and coffee, and the faint mildew that never quite left, no matter how much she cleaned. The mail still sat on the counter. She could not avoid it forever. Lily picked up the envelope on top, the one marked "Final Notice" in red letters. She opened it, even though she knew what it would say. Legal action would be pursued if payment was not received within 30 days. $50,000. Just the first of several debts they were demanding. Her hands trembled as she read the words. Court, garnished wages, seizure of assets. What assets? She almost laughed. She owned a 10-year-old Honda Civic with a check engine light that had been on for 2 years and furniture from Goodwill. They could take it all, and it would not even cover a fraction of what she owed. "Mom?" Emma was watching her again with those old eyes. Lily put the letter down. It is fine, sweetie, just grown-up stuff. She hated lying to her daughter. But what was the alternative? Explain that they might be evicted, that the debt collectors were circling, that every day felt like standing on the edge of a cliff waiting to fall. At 6:30, her best friend Rachel arrived. Rachel Goldstein had been Lily's roommate in college, back when Lily had been a nursing student with a future, before Michael in love and medical bills had rewritten her entire story. Rachel was a nurse now, working overnight shifts, and she had offered to watch Jack while Lily went to work. "You look terrible," Rachel said by way of greeting, but her eyes were kind. "Good morning to you too." Rachel took Jack from Lily's arms and settled onto the worn couch. The baby immediately grabbed for Rachel's dangling earring. "I am serious, Lil. When was the last time you slept?" "I sleep. More than 4 hours?" Lily did not answer. She grabbed her purse and the folder with her resume. Today was important. Today she had an interview for a job that could change everything. Steady income, health insurance, benefits. The kind of job she had stopped dreaming about because dreaming hurt too much. "Tell me about this housekeeper position," Rachel said. "It is in Beacon Hill. Some rich guy needs someone to manage his house." "Manage his house," Rachel repeated, one eyebrow raised. "That is a fancy way of saying clean toilets. It pays $40,000 a year, with benefits." Rachel whistled low. "That is real money." "It would be," Lily agreed. She did not add that even with that salary, she would still be paying off her medical debt for the next 15 years. But it would stop the bleeding. It would give them breathing room. It might let Emma stay in one school for more than a year. "What is the catch?" Rachel asked, because Rachel always asked the right questions. "I do not know yet, but I will find out." Across the city, in a brownstone that cost more than most people made in a lifetime, Jonathan Hartwell was having his own morning ritual. Wake at 5:30, shower in the master bathroom that still smelled faintly of his wife's perfume, even though she had been dead for 3 years. Dress in a suit that cost more than a month's rent for most of Boston. Walk through rooms that echoed with emptiness. The house was too big for one person. It had been too big even when Catherine was alive, but she had loved it, had spent hours planning which room would be the nursery when they finally had children. They had tried for 8 years. 8 years of hope and disappointment and doctors who smiled sympathetically while delivering bad news. Then came the cancer, ovarian, aggressive, the kind that moved fast and took everything. John paused in the hallway outside what would have been the nursery. Catherine had painted it yellow, a cheerful, optimistic color for a future that never came. He had not opened the door since the funeral, could not bear to see the empty crib they had bought on a particularly hopeful day, before the diagnosis, before hope became a luxury they could not afford. "Mr. John," a voice called from downstairs. Margaret Sullivan, the housekeeper who had worked for his family for 20 years, who had watched him grow up, who had held him when he cried at Catherine's funeral. "You will be late for breakfast." John descended the grand staircase, his hand trailing along the polished banister. The house was immaculate. Maggie kept it that way. But immaculate did not mean lived in. It meant preserved, like a museum, like a mausoleum. In the kitchen, Maggie had prepared his usual breakfast: eggs, toast, coffee. He sat at the table that could seat 12 and ate alone. "You need to live again," Maggie said, not for the first time. "I am living." "No, sir, you are existing. There is a difference." John did not argue. What was the point? Maggie was right. He went to work, he came home, he slept in a house full of ghosts. On Sundays, he visited Catherine's grave and told her about his week, as if she could hear him, as if talking to a headstone was a substitute for a life. "I hired someone new to help me," Maggie continued. "The last girl quit, said the house was too sad." John looked up sharply. "What?" "She said working here was depressing. All this space, all this beauty, and no life in it." The words stung because they were true. When had this happened? When had he become the kind of person whose home was described as depressing? "The new woman starts today," Maggie said. "She is coming for an interview at 9. I have a good feeling about her." "Does it matter what I think?" Maggie smiled. "Not particularly, no." His phone rang. The screen showed his mother's name, and John considered not answering. But Eleanor Hartwell did not take kindly to being ignored. He picked up. "Jonathan," his mother's voice was crisp and commanding. "Family dinner tonight. 7 o'clock. Do not be late." "Mother, I have work." "You always have work. This is important. Vanessa will be there." John closed his eyes. Vanessa Morrison, daughter of the Morrison family, old Boston money, appropriate in every way according to his mother's calculations. Beautiful, accomplished, utterly wrong for him. "I'm not interested in Vanessa," he said. "You are interested in being alone and miserable," Eleanor replied. "That is not healthy. Catherine would not want you to waste your life." The mention of Catherine's name in his mother's mouth felt like a violation. "You did not know what Catherine wanted. I know she loved you. I know she would want you to be happy. And I know you will never be happy hiding in that house." She hung up before he could respond. That was Eleanor's way. She delivered her edicts and expected compliance. It had worked when he was a child. It did not work now, but that did not stop her from trying. Maggie was watching him with those knowing eyes. "She is not wrong, you know, about living." John pushed away from the table. "I have to get to the office." "The interview is at 9, Maggie reminded him. "You should be here." "Why? You already hired her." "Because it is your house. And because you need to remember what it feels like to have people in it." At 8:55, Lily stood outside the brownstone on Beacon Hill and questioned every decision that had led her to this moment. The house was enormous, 3 stories of brick and history and old money. It was the kind of house she had only seen in movies, the kind of house where people had dinner parties and hired help and did not worry about whether the check engine light meant the car was dying. She checked her reflection in the Civic's side mirror, her best interview outfit, which was a black skirt from Target and a white blouse that was only slightly wrinkled. She had put on makeup, the kind that was supposed to make you look professional and put together. She looked like a woman trying too hard, she thought, like someone pretending to belong somewhere she did not. But she needed this job. The letter from the debt collectors was in her purse, a reminder of what happened if she did not find steady income soon. She climbed the steps and rang the doorbell. Chimes echoed inside, deep and melodic. A moment later, the door opened. The woman who answered was in her late 50s, with steel gray hair and warm eyes. She looked Lily up and down, not unkindly, and then smiled. "You must be Lillian Mitchell. I am Margaret Sullivan. Everyone calls me Maggie. Come in." The interior of the house was even more intimidating than the exterior. Hardwood floors that gleamed, a staircase that curved upward like something from a painting, rooms that branched off in every direction, filled with furniture that looked expensive and untouched. "It is a lot to take in," Maggie said, reading Lily's expression. "But it is just a house. Needs the same things every house needs. Cleaning, organizing, someone to make it feel like a home." They walked through room after room, a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a dining room with a table that could seat 20, a kitchen that was bigger than Lily's entire apartment, all stainless steel and granite and appliances she did not know the names for. "Mr. Hartwell lives here alone?" Lily asked. "Oh, he does now. His wife passed 3 years ago." "I am sorry." Maggie nodded. "Cancer. She was young. It was terrible. And he has been half alive ever since." They ended the tour in a sitting room filled with photographs. Lily saw them immediately. A beautiful blonde woman, laughing in frame after frame, always next to a man who looked at her like she hung the moon. The man was handsome in that easy way of the wealthy, with dark hair and kind eyes. In every photo, he was smiling. "That is Catherine," Maggie said softly. "She was lovely, inside and out, and that is Mr. John, though he does not smile like that anymore." Lily studied the photos. There was one of the couple on their wedding day, young and hopeful. Another of them on a beach somewhere tropical. A third of Catherine in a hospital bed, thin and pale, but still smiling, still holding her husband's hand. "He has not moved on," Lily observed. "He has not tried." Maggie turned to face her. "The last housekeeper quit because she said the house was too sad. Is that going to bother you?" Lily thought about her own apartment, about the drawer where she kept Michael's things, about the night she still cried into a pillow so Emma would not hear. She understood sad houses. "No," she said, "it will not bother me." Maggie studied her for a long moment. "You are a widow too. I can see it." "How?" "The way you looked at those photos. Like you understand." "My husband died 4 years ago. I have 2 children, a daughter and a baby son. And you need this job." It was not a question, so Lily just nodded. "Then it is yours," Maggie said. $40,000 a year, health insurance, 2 weeks vacation. You start Monday." Lily blinked. "That is it? You are not going to ask me questions? Check my references." "I already did." I called your old employer. She said you were the hardest worker she had ever seen. Said you never missed a day, even when you should have. Said you treated everyone with kindness. That felt like a lifetime ago. Lily had worked as an event planner before Michael got sick, before the medical bills, before she had to drop out of nursing school and take whatever work she could find. I have one condition, Maggie added. You bring your children here after school. No charge for childcare. This house needs young voices. It has been too quiet for too long. I could not possibly. You can and you will, no arguing. Do we have an agreement? Lily felt tears burning behind her eyes. Yes, thank you. They shook hands, and Maggie's grip was firm and warm. You will meet Mr. Hartwell soon enough. Fair warning, he is not the easiest man, keeps to himself, does not talk much. But he is good, remember that. As Lily turned to leave, she heard a door open upstairs. Footsteps on the stairs, quick and purposeful. A man appeared in the hallway, already dressed for work, his mind clearly elsewhere. He barely glanced at Lily as he passed. Maggie, he said, I will be late tonight. Board meeting. Then he was gone, the front door closing behind him, leaving only the faint scent of expensive cologne. That was Mr. Hartwell, Maggie said dryly. Charming, is he not? Lily almost laughed. She had just been hired to work in a mansion for a man who had not even looked at her. It felt surreal. It felt like a lifeline she did not deserve but desperately needed. I will see you Monday, she told Maggie. On the drive home, Lily called the debt collection agency. The woman who answered had a bored voice, the tone of someone who spent all day delivering bad news. I can make a payment, Lily said. $500, today. That is not enough to stop the legal proceedings, the woman replied. We need $10,000 by the end of the month. I understand, but I am starting a new job. I will be able to pay more next month. The woman sighed. I will make a note, but I cannot promise anything. Lily hung up and gripped the steering wheel. $500 would not save her. But it was something. It was forward motion, and right now forward motion was all she had. That night, the Hartwell family gathered for dinner at Eleanor's estate in Chestnut Hill. The house was even grander than John's, all old-world elegance and carefully curated antiques. Eleanor had raised her children in this house after John's father died, had turned herself into a force of nature to compensate for being a widow in a world that pitied single mothers. John arrived to find his sister Patricia already there, along with Patricia's husband David and their 2 children. Trish gave him a sympathetic look as he entered. She knew what this dinner was about. Vanessa Morrison was already seated in the formal dining room, looking perfect in a black dress and pearls. Next to her sat her parents, James and Constance Morrison, old money recognizing old money and plotting the merging of empires. Jonathan, Eleanor said, rising to greet him. You are late. Traffic, he lied. They sat down to a meal prepared by Eleanor's cook. 7 courses, polite conversation about business and society gossip, and the upcoming charity gala season. John ate mechanically, answering questions when directly addressed, counting the minutes until he could leave. Vanessa smiled at him across the table. She was beautiful, he could admit that. Intelligent, too. She ran her own law practice, specialized in corporate litigation. On paper, they were perfect for each other, but he felt nothing when he looked at her. No spark, no interest, nothing but a weary resignation that this was what his mother wanted, and Eleanor Hartwell usually got what she wanted. After dinner, Eleanor cornered him in the library. Just the 2 of them, which meant she had planned this moment carefully. Vanessa is a wonderful woman, Eleanor began. She is. The Morrison family is interested in a partnership with Hartwell and Associates. I am aware. Eleanor stepped closer. You know what I'm asking, Jonathan. You want me to marry her? I want you to consider your future. Your company is going public next year. The Morrison investment would ensure success. And Vanessa would make an excellent wife. John looked at his mother, this woman who had raised him alone, who had sacrificed so much, who loved him in her own controlling way. He understood her logic. Marriage as business, partnership as strategy. But he had already married for practical reasons once. His marriage to Catherine had started as an arrangement between families, a merger of old Boston dynasties. They had been lucky. They had fallen in love. But Catherine was gone now, and John had no interest in trying to recreate that kind of fortune. I will think about it, he said, which was not a yes, but also not a no. Eleanor smiled. That is all I ask. But as John drove home that night, he knew he would not marry Vanessa. could not. The thought of standing at an altar again, of promising forever to someone he barely knew, made him feel sick. There had to be another way. Lily's first week at the Hartwell brownstone established a rhythm. She arrived at 8 after dropping Emma at school. She brought Jack with her, and Maggie watched him while Lily cleaned, organized, managed the household that had been slowly falling into disrepair. John was barely there. He left before 8 most mornings and did not return until after 7. When he was home, he shut himself in his study or disappeared into his bedroom. He moved through the house like a ghost, present but not really there. On Friday afternoon, Emma came to the brownstone for the first time. The school bus dropped her off, and she stood on the front steps looking uncertain until Lily opened the door. "Is this where you work?" Emma asked, her eyes wide. "This is it. It is like a castle." Lily had thought the same thing. "Come on, I will show you around." They found Maggie in the kitchen with Jack, who was sitting in a high chair eating crackers and making a magnificent mess. Maggie greeted Emma warmly, immediately offering cookies and milk, asking about school. Emma ate her snack politely, answering Maggie's questions, but Lily could see her daughter's eyes wandering, looking at the size of the kitchen, the copper pots hanging from hooks, the appliances that gleamed. "Can I explore?" Emma asked finally. "Stay downstairs," Lily instructed, "and do not touch anything." Emma disappeared, and Lily could hear her footsteps echoing through the rooms. A few minutes later, she heard her daughter's voice, excited and loud. "Mom, come look at this!" Lily followed the sound to the library. Emma stood in the center of the room, turning slowly, taking in the thousands of books that lined the walls. "I've never seen so many books," Emma breathed. "Can I read them?" "I do not think—" "They are just sitting here," Emma said. "No one is reading them. That is sad." She had a point. Lily looked at the shelves, at the classics and contemporary novels and histories and biographies, all pristine and untouched. A library without readers was its own kind of tragedy. A voice spoke from the doorway, making them both jump. "You can read them." John stood there, still in his work clothes, his tie loosened. He looked tired. He always looked tired, Lily had noticed, as if exhaustion was his permanent state. Emma moved closer to her mother, suddenly shy. "I am sorry. I did not mean to." John held up a hand. "It is fine. The books should be read. That is what they are for." He stepped into the library, his eyes scanning the shelves with something that might have been nostalgia. "My wife loved this room. She used to spend hours here." Emma looked at him with open curiosity, the kind only children could manage. "Are you Mr. Hartwell?" "I am, and you must be Emma." "How did you know my name?" "Your mother talks about you. She says you love to read." "I do, more than anything." John walked to one of the lower shelves and pulled out a worn copy of A Little Princess. "This was Catherine's favorite when she was your age. Would you like to borrow it?" Emma looked to Lily for permission. Lily nodded, not trusting herself to speak. There was something intensely sad about this man giving away his dead wife's books to a 9-year-old girl. Emma took the book reverently. "Thank you, Mr. Hartwell." "Just John," he said. "Mr. Hartwell was my father." That evening, after Emma had settled in a corner of the library with her new book, and Jack had fallen asleep in a portable crib Maggie had produced from somewhere, Lily found John still in the library. He was standing by the window, looking out at the garden that was starting to bloom with early spring flowers. "Thank you," she said, "for being kind to Emma. She seems like a good kid." "She is. The best." John turned to look at her, really look at her, for the first time since she had started working there. "How old is your son?" 18 months. "And you are doing this alone." His father died before Jack was born. Heart attack. He was only 35. Something shifted in John's expression. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. "I am sorry." "Me too." They stood in silence for a moment, two people who understood loss in a way most people did not. Then John cleared his throat. "Maggie says you were an event planner. Before. A lifetime ago. I had to stop when my husband got sick. Medical bills. I understand medical bills." Of course he did. He had watched his wife die slowly, had probably exhausted every treatment option, every experimental trial, had probably spent a fortune trying to buy time. "You are good at this," John said, gesturing vaguely around the house. "Managing things. The house looks better than it has in years." "Thank you." "You can bring your children every day. I do not mind." Lily felt that burn of tears again. Maggie said the same thing. "You are both very kind." John shook his head. "It is not kindness. It is selfish. The house is too quiet. Your children make it less so. Before Lily could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression darkened. My mother, he said, excuse me. He walked out of the library, and Lily heard his voice in the hallway, tense and controlled. Mother, I told you I am not interested. No, I will not reconsider because I do not love her. That is not enough. I have to go. He came back into the library looking exhausted and frustrated. Family, he said, as if that explained everything. Lily understood. Family was complicated. Family meant well but caused harm. Family could not see past their own expectations. Mine too, she said softly. John looked at her, and something passed between them. An understanding, a recognition that they were both trapped by circumstances beyond their control, both struggling with expectations they could not meet. That night, after Lily had taken Emma and Jack home, after she had put them to bed and collapsed on her own bed, her phone rang. Unknown number again. She almost did not answer. But the debt collectors would not stop calling just because she was exhausted. Hello? Ms. Mitchell, this is Carlton and Associates. We are calling regarding your outstanding medical debt. Lily closed her eyes. I made a payment this week. Yes, we received $500, but that leaves $94,500 remaining. We need to discuss a payment plan. I'm working on it. We need more than that. Legal proceedings will begin in 30 days unless we receive substantial payment. How much is substantial? $40,000. The number hit her like a punch. $40,000, almost her entire year's salary, gone before she even earned it. I cannot do that, she said quietly. Then we will have no choice but to proceed with garnishment and potential seizure of assets. After she hung up, Lily sat in the darkness of her bedroom and let herself cry. Quiet tears that would not wake Emma or Jack. Tears of exhaustion and fear and the overwhelming weight of trying to survive when survival felt impossible. The weekend passed in a blur. Emma read her borrowed book 3 times. Jack learned to say mama more clearly. Lily avoided looking at the mail, avoided thinking about Monday when she would have to call the debt collectors again and beg for more time. On Monday morning, she arrived at the brownstone to find John already in the kitchen. He was dressed for work but seemed in no hurry to leave. Maggie was making coffee, and the smell filled the house. Good morning, John said when Lily entered. Good morning. Maggie says you have today off. Family commitment. Lily had asked for the day off to deal with a court appearance about the medical debt. She had not told Maggie the real reason, had just said it was a personal matter. Yes, Lily said. Nothing important. John looked at her in that way he had, the way that suggested he saw more than she wanted him to. Take the day, and let me know if you need anything. She would not. She had learned not to ask for help. Asking for help meant owing people, and she already owed more than she could ever repay. That afternoon, John was supposed to have another dinner with his mother, another evening of subtle pressure about Vanessa Morrison. But as he sat in his office trying to focus on quarterly reports, he could not stop thinking about the look on Lily's face that morning. The exhaustion, the fear she was trying to hide. He called his sister. I need your advice, he told Trish when she answered. This should be good. You never ask for advice. How do you help someone without making them feel like a charity case? Trish was quiet for a moment. Who are we talking about? My new housekeeper. John, what is going on? He found himself telling his sister everything. About Lily and her children, about her dead husband, and the medical debt he suspected was crushing her. About the way her daughter looked at books like they were treasures. About the baby who had never met his father. You like her? Trish said when he finished. It is not like that. No? Because it sounds like you have noticed more about her in 2 weeks than you have noticed about anything in 3 years. John did not have an answer for that. That night, Eleanor called again. John let it go to voicemail. He knew what she wanted. He knew what she would say. And for the first time in years, he was tired of doing what his mother expected. He poured himself a whiskey in the library and sat in Catherine's favorite chair. The room smelled like books and history and loss. Emma's borrowed copy of A Little Princess sat on the side table, a bright bookmark protruding from the pages. Evidence of life in a house that had forgotten what life looked like. John picked up his phone and called his sister back. I need you to do something for me, he said. And you cannot ask why. This is going to be illegal, is it not? Just questionable. I need you to look into medical debt relief options, charitable foundations, anything that could help someone clear a large debt. How large? $95,000. Trish whistled. That is significant. Can it be done? Maybe. Why do you want to know? Because I think I am about to do something crazy. The next morning, John came down to breakfast to find Lily already working. She was organizing the front hall closet, a task Maggie had been putting off for months. Jack was in a playpen nearby, babbling happily to himself. Can we talk? John asked. Lily looked up, startled. Of course, they sat in the kitchen. Maggie had conveniently found errands to run. John had rehearsed what he was going to say. But now that the moment was here, the words felt impossible. I have a proposition, he finally said. A business proposition. Lily waited, her hands folded on the table. My mother wants me to get married. She has someone picked out, someone appropriate. Okay, but I do not want to marry this person. I do not want to marry anyone. But my mother will not stop pressuring me. I am sorry, but I do not understand what this has to do with me. John took a breath. What if I hired someone to be my wife? Temporarily, a contract. 1 year. Just long enough to get my family off my back. Lily stared at him. Are you serious? Completely, I would pay well, very well, and it would just be for show. Separate bedrooms, professional arrangement. How well? $100,000. The money would come in 2 parts. First, I would pay your medical debt in full immediately from my personal accounts. $95,000. Consider it an advance. Then over the course of the year, you would receive the remaining $5,000 in monthly installments. At the end of the year, if you fulfill the contract terms, you walk away with everything paid and an additional $50,000 completion bonus. Total value, $145,000. Lily's face went pale. That is enough to clear your debts completely and give you a fresh start. I know about the medical bills, Lily. I know you are facing $95,000 in collections. I am not trying to embarrass you. I just want you to know that I understand what you are facing. Why me? Because you need help. And because I need someone who will not have any illusions about this being real. Someone who will walk away at the end with no complications. Someone who understands that this is business. Lily was quiet for a long time. John could see her mind working, calculating, weighing the impossibility of the offer against the impossibility of her situation. What about Emma and Jack? She asked finally. They move in. The house has plenty of room. This would be their home for the year. Good schools for Emma. Stability. And after the year, clean divorce. You keep all the money. Your debt is cleared. You and the kids find a place of your own. I tell my mother it did not work out. We both move on. Yeah, this is insane. Yes. Why would you do this? John thought about the question. Because I am tired of being controlled. Because I want 1 year of my life to be on my terms. Because you look at me like I am a person, not a project. And maybe, though he did not say it, because having Lily and her children in the house made it feel less like a mausoleum and more like a home. Lily stood up and walked to the window. Outside, spring was turning the garden green. A new season, new growth. I need to think about it, she said. Take your time. But they both knew she did not have time. The debt collectors would not wait. The eviction notices would not pause. Sometimes survival meant taking insane offers from sad widowers in their beautiful empty houses. 2 days later, Lily gave him her answer. I will do it, she said. But I have one condition. Name it. Emma and Jack can never know this is fake. As far as they are concerned, we are really together. I will not lie to my daughter about one more thing. Agreed. They shook hands, and John felt the warmth of her palm against his. This was crazy. This was reckless. This was going to explode in his face. But for the first time in 3 years, he felt something other than numb resignation. He felt alive, terrified, but alive. Trish drew up the contract. She did it quietly, without asking too many questions, though her eyebrows nearly reached her hairline when John explained what he wanted. You are aware this is the plot of a romance novel, right? She said. It is not romantic. It is practical. Sure it is, and I am the Queen of England. The contract was thorough. 1 year, medical debt paid immediately in full, monthly stipends, final bonus at completion. Professional arrangement with specific terms about public appearances, separate living quarters, and dissolution at the end of the term. Lily read every word 3 times. Then she signed her name. John signed below hers. The next morning, John transferred $95,000 to the medical debt collection agency, paying Lily's entire obligation in full. The weight that had crushed her for 4 years disappeared in a single electronic transaction. When Lily received the confirmation, she sat in her car outside the brownstone and cried. Not tears of sadness, but of relief so profound it felt like being able to breathe for the first time in years. They were doing this. They were really doing this. The contract marriage that was never supposed to be real had begun. Well, they would be married. First came the preparation, the story they would tell, the lies they would practice until they could say them without flinching. "We met when I hired you," John said. "We spent time together. We fell in love quickly." How quickly? A month? 2, maybe? Fast enough to be romantic, but not so fast it seems desperate. Okay. They practiced in the library, sitting close together, touching hands, looking at each other like people in love were supposed to look. It was awkward and uncomfortable, and felt like acting in the world's strangest play. Emma watched them from the corner where she was reading. "Mom, are you and Mr. John dating?" Lily had not expected the question so soon. She looked at John, panicked. "We are," John said smoothly. "Is that okay with you, Emma?" Emma considered this. "Will you be nice to my mom?" "Always." "Will you read to me sometimes? If you want me to, then I think it is okay." Jack toddled over to John and raised his arms to be picked up. John, who had no experience with babies, awkwardly lifted the boy. Jack immediately grabbed John's tie and pulled hard enough to choke him. "Gentle," Lily said, rescuing John. "Sorry, he is at that age." "It is fine," John said, though his voice was strained. Maggie found them like that. Lily adjusting John's tie while he held Jack, Emma watching them with approval. The housekeeper smiled. "Well," she said, "this is unexpected. We need to tell you something," John began. But Maggie held up a hand. "Whatever it is, I am happy for you, both of you. This house needed life. You found it." And maybe that was true. Maybe it had started as a transaction, a desperate solution to separate problems. But standing there with a baby pulling his hair, and a woman fixing his tie, and a little girl who looked at him like he might be worth trusting, John felt something shift. This was dangerous. This was more than he had bargained for. But it was too late to back out now. 3 days later, they moved Lily and the children into the brownstone. Emma got the yellow nursery. Jack got a room next to hers. Lily took a guest room on the second floor, far from John's master suite. The first night, Emma could not sleep. She appeared in the kitchen where Lily was making tea, unable to settle herself. "Mom," Emma whispered, "is this real?" Lily pulled her daughter close. "Yes, sweetheart, this is real." And the lie felt heavy, even as she told it. Because Emma deserved truth. But Emma also deserved stability. And right now, this beautiful lie was the only path to both. The engagement party was in 2 weeks. Eleanor had not wasted time once John had told her he was seeing someone. She had immediately planned a society event to introduce John's new girlfriend to everyone who mattered in Boston. John had tried to argue, tried to say it was too soon, but Eleanor had been planning his next wedding for 3 years. She was not about to let practical objections slow her down. "We need to practice," Trish said. She had taken on the role of coach, determined that her brother and his fake fiancé would not embarrass themselves. They practiced dancing in the library. John was stiff, counting beats like he was solving a math problem. Lily had not danced since her wedding to Michael, and the memories made her throat tight. "Relax," Trish instructed. "You are supposed to look like you are in love, not like you are taking a test." "I do not know how to look in love," John said. "Pretend she is someone you care about, someone who makes you smile." John looked down at Lily. She was shorter than Catherine had been, curvier. She smelled like vanilla and something floral he could not name. Her hands were rough from work, not soft like the society women he knew. She was real in a way that felt dangerous. "You make this house better," he said quietly. "You and your children." I forgot what that felt like, having people here. Lily looked up at him, surprise in her dark eyes. "That is the nicest thing anyone has said to me in years." And then, because Trish was watching, and because they needed to practice, John leaned down and kissed her. It was supposed to be brief, perfunctory, a test run for the engagement party. But the moment his lips touched hers, something happened. A spark, a connection. Something that made his heart rate spike and his breath catch. Lily pulled back first, her cheeks flushed. "That was practice," John finished. "Just practice." "That's..." But his hands were shaking and he could not quite meet her eyes. Trish watched them with a knowing smile. "Right, practice. You two are going to fool everyone. The night before the engagement party, John could not sleep. He stood at his bedroom window, looking out at the garden where Catherine used to plant flowers. She had loved spring, had loved watching things grow. He missed her, would always miss her. But grief had loosened its grip enough that he could breathe around it now, could imagine a future that was not just an endless repetition of empty days. This arrangement with Lily was supposed to be simple. Help her, help himself, end it cleanly. But simplicity was already slipping away. He cared what Emma thought of him, found himself looking forward to Jack's delighted squeals when John came home from work, noticed when Lily was tired or worried, and wanted to fix whatever was causing it. This was supposed to be business. It was starting to feel like something else entirely. In her room, Lily was awake too. She had the contract in her hands, rereading the terms. 1 year, $145,000 total. Her ticket to freedom from debt. Her chance to give Emma and Jack the stability they deserved. She could do this. She could pretend for 12 months. She had pretended to be fine for 4 years. What was another year? But that kiss in the library had shaken her, had reminded her that her body was not just a machine for surviving, that she was still capable of feeling something beyond exhaustion and fear. That was dangerous. John was her employer. This was a contract. She could not afford to forget that. Tomorrow, they would tell their first public lie, would stand in front of Boston society and claim to be in love. And the terrifying thing was, Lily was not entirely sure it would be a lie anymore. The morning of the engagement party arrived with unseasonable warmth. Spring had decided to show off, and the world outside bloomed with optimism. Inside the brownstone, there was chaos. Emma had insisted on a new dress for the party. Maggie had taken her shopping and returned with a navy blue dress that made the girl look far older than 9. Jack had a tiny suit. Lily had a dress that Trish had helped her pick out, pale green silk that made her feel like she was playing dress-up. John stood in his room, adjusting his tie for the 5th time. His hands were steady. His heart was not. "Ready?" Lily asked from the doorway. She was beautiful. The thought hit him with unexpected force. Not beautiful like Catherine, not polished and perfect. Beautiful in a real way, like she belonged in this moment, in this life. "As I will ever be," he said. They went downstairs together. Maggie was watching Emma and Jack for the evening. The children hugged their mother goodbye, and Jack clung to John's leg in a way that made the man's heart twist. "I will be back soon," John promised the toddler. At Eleanor's estate, the party was already in full swing. Boston society had turned out in force, drawn by the mystery of John Hartwell's sudden engagement to a woman no one had heard of. Eleanor met them at the door. Her eyes swept over Lily, cataloging every detail. Shoes from Nordstrom, not Chanel. Dress off the rack, not custom. Hair done at home, not by a stylist. "Mother," John said. "This is Lillian Mitchell. Lily, my mother, Eleanor Hartwell." The two women shook hands. Eleanor's grip was firm, assessing. "Welcome, dear. We have much to discuss." Inside, the crowd parted. Whispers followed. John kept his hand on the small of Lily's back, a gesture of protection and possession. People introduced themselves. Names Lily would never remember. Faces that blurred together. Questions about how they met, where she was from, what she did. "She is an event planner," John said smoothly. "She has her own business." "Had," Lily wanted to say, but she smiled and nodded and let John guide her through the social minefield. Vanessa Morrison approached. She was stunning in black, every inch the woman Eleanor had wanted John to marry. Lily braced for hostility. Instead, Vanessa smiled warmly. "Congratulations. I hope you will both be very happy." There was something in her eyes, relief maybe, or recognition. "Thank you," Lily said. After Vanessa moved away, John leaned close. "She is not the enemy." "I know." The party progressed. Dinner was served. Toasts were made. John stood and thanked everyone for coming, for celebrating with them. "I spent 3 years in the dark," he said. "Lily brought me back to the light. I will be grateful to her for the rest of my life." The room applauded. Lily felt tears burning, because it was a lie, because it felt true anyway. Then Eleanor stood. She raised her glass and the room quieted. "To my son," she said, "and to his unexpected choice." The pause was deliberate, the emphasis clear. Lily felt the judgment, the dismissal. But then Eleanor continued. "Love is rarely convenient. It does not follow our plans or meet our expectations, but it is precious nonetheless. Welcome to the family, Lillian." The room drank. John squeezed Lily's hand under the table. After dinner, they were pulled aside by Eleanor, just the three of them in the library. "I had you investigated," Eleanor said without preamble. "I know about your debts, your late husband, your circumstances." Lily's blood went cold. "Mother," John began, but Eleanor held up a hand. "I also know this engagement is very sudden, suspiciously sudden. And I know my son well enough to know when he is hiding something." Lily could not breathe. They had been caught. The contract would be exposed. Everything would fall apart. But Eleanor was not finished. "However," she said, "I watched you two tonight. The way John looks at you, the way you steady him. And I realized something. I do not care how this started. I care that my son is smiling again. That is worth more than all the appropriate marriages in the world." She turned to Lily. "I am giving you my blessing. Do not make me regret it." "Thank you," Lily whispered. In the car going home, neither of them spoke. The weight of the evening, the lies, the unexpected support from Eleanor, all of it pressed down. "She knows," Lily finally said. "Your mother knows this is not real. She suspects, but she is choosing to believe anyway." "Why?" John pulled up to the brownstone and turned off the car. "Because she is tired of watching me be miserable. And because she sees what I have been trying not to see." "What is that?" "That this stopped being fake the moment you and your children moved in. Maybe before that." Lily looked at him. The man who had offered her salvation in the form of a contract. The man whose empty house was starting to feel like home. "John," she said, "what are we doing?" He reached out and touched her face, gentle, like she was something precious. "I do not know, but I know I do not want to stop." And then he kissed her. Not for practice, not for show, just because he wanted to. Lily kissed him back, because she wanted to too. When they finally pulled apart, they sat in the car in silence. The brownstone loomed before them, full of light and life and possibility. "One year," Lily said, "that was the deal." "Plans change," John replied. Inside, Maggie was waiting. The children were asleep upstairs. The house was quiet. "How did it go?" Maggie asked. John looked at Lily. Lily looked at John. "Complicated," they said together. And it was. Complicated and messy, and nothing like what they had planned. But as they climbed the stairs together, as John checked on Emma and Lily kissed Jack goodnight, as they stood in the hallway between their separate rooms and neither of them wanted to say goodnight, they both realized something. The contract marriage was supposed to save them both from their separate lonely lives. Instead, it was awakening something neither of them had expected. Something real, something that terrified them both, and something that, despite every logical reason to stop, neither of them could resist anymore. Living together was supposed to be simple. Separate lives under one roof, a business arrangement with clear boundaries and an expiration date. But houses remember love, and the Hartwell brownstone had been waiting 3 years to feel alive again. The first Monday morning after the engagement party arrived with all the chaos of a life suddenly multiplied by 3. John came down to breakfast at his usual time, 6:30, expecting the quiet ritual of coffee and solitude he had maintained for years. Instead, he found his kitchen transformed into something resembling a natural disaster. Jack sat in a high chair, systematically throwing pieces of waffle onto the floor with the focused determination of a tiny demolition expert. Emma was at the table, her homework spread across the surface in a way that made organization impossible, frantically scribbling answers while simultaneously eating cereal. Lily stood at the stove, still in her bathrobe, her hair in a messy bun, attempting to make eggs while also retrieving Jack's thrown food and checking Emma's math problems. The scene stopped John in the doorway. This was not the elegant breakfast he was accustomed to. This was pandemonium. This was mess and noise and the particular brand of disaster that only small children could create. Lily looked up and saw him standing there, her face flushed with embarrassment. "I am so sorry," she said quickly. "We are running late. Emma has a math test and Jack did not sleep well and I completely lost track of time." John watched as she tried to do 4 things at once, each task pulling her in a different direction. She looked exhausted. Beautiful in that particular way of mothers who were too tired to care about appearances, but exhausted nonetheless. "What do you need?" he asked. "Sacked." The question seemed to surprise her. "What? What do you need?" John repeated. "How can I help?" Lily stared at him like he had spoken a foreign language. "You do not have to." "I live here too. Tell me what to do." She hesitated, then made a decision. "Can you finish the eggs while I get Jack cleaned up? And maybe make sure Emma's backpack has everything she needs?" John had run a multi-million-dollar company for 15 years. He had negotiated deals, managed crises, solved problems that would have broken lesser men. Surely he could handle breakfast in a backpack. 20 minutes later, Emma was on the school bus with a completed homework assignment and a lunch Lily had thrown together. Jack was clean and dressed, though John's shirt now had egg on the shoulder. The kitchen looked like a bomb had gone off, but there was hot coffee and the eggs were only slightly burned. Lily collapsed into the chair, breathing hard. "Welcome to my mornings." John sat down across from her. "Is it always like this?" "Pretty much. Some days are worse." "How do you do this every day?" "The same way you run a company, I imagine. One crisis at a time." John found himself smiling. There was something refreshing about her honesty, her lack of pretense. Society women would have hired 3 nannies to avoid this kind of chaos. Lily just powered through it, accepting the mess as the price of motherhood. Maggie arrived and surveyed the kitchen with raised eyebrows. "Well, this is different." "John is learning," Lily said not unkindly. Maggie began cleaning up with the efficiency of long practice. "Mr. John, you have a board meeting at 9. You might want to change your shirt." He looked down at the egg stain and laughed. The sound surprised him. When was the last time he had laughed at something so mundane as a stained shirt? Lily watched him with something soft in her expression. "Thank you for helping. We are a team, remember?" The word felt right. Team, partners, not employer and employee, not fake husband and wife. Something in between, something undefined but real. The rest of that first week established patterns. John learned that mornings were controlled chaos, that Emma needed help with math but was brilliant at reading, that Jack's favorite game was hiding John's shoes, that Lily took her coffee black and drank it standing up because sitting down meant she might fall asleep. He learned that family life was loud and messy, and nothing like the quiet dignity he had maintained for 3 years. He also learned he did not hate it. Friday night brought their first public appearance as an engaged couple, a charity brunch at the Boston Harbor Hotel, one of those society events where attendance was mandatory and genuine feeling was optional. Lily had been nervous all morning. She changed outfits 3 times, finally settling on a navy dress that Trish had helped her pick out. She looked beautiful, but John could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she kept checking her reflection like she was preparing for battle. "You will be fine," he told her as they drove to the hotel. "Everyone is going to be looking at me, judging me." "Let them look, you belong there as much as anyone." But that was not quite true, and they both knew it. Lily did not belong to their world. She was an outsider, and Boston society protected its borders with ruthless efficiency. The ballroom was filled with the usual suspects, old money families, corporate titans, the kind of people who measured worth in genealogy and investment portfolios. John felt Lily stiffen beside him as they entered, felt her hand tighten on his arm. He covered her hand with his own, a gesture of reassurance. "I am right here." They made their way through the crowd. Introductions, polite small talk, the careful dance of society interactions. Most people were kind, at least to their faces, but John could hear the whispers, could see the calculating looks directed at Lily. "She is quite young," one woman murmured to her companion, not quite quietly enough. "And 2 children already?" another replied. How convenient for her, landing someone like Jonathan Hartwell. Lily heard it too. John felt her flinch, saw her smile become more fixed. He wanted to turn around and defend her, but that would only make it worse. Society thrived on scandal. The best response was indifference. They found their table. Vanessa Morrison was already seated, looking elegant in a pale pink suit. Her parents were conspicuously absent. "Congratulations again," Vanessa said warmly. "I hope you both will be very happy." "Thank you," Lily replied. "That is very kind of you." Vanessa leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Do not let them get to you. The gossips, I mean. They said terrible things about me too when my engagement ended. They will move on to the next scandal soon enough." There was genuine kindness in her eyes. An unexpected alliance. Lily relaxed slightly. The brunch proceeded with speeches and donations and the careful performance of charity that was as much about social positioning as actual good works. John made his required contribution, gave his required remarks, played his part, but he was aware of Lily beside him the entire time. The way she held herself with quiet dignity despite the whispers. The way she spoke to the people who approached their table with genuine warmth, even when they clearly looked down on her. the way she refused to be diminished. After the speeches, there was dancing. John led Lily onto the floor, acutely aware of every eye on them. "This is horrible," Lily whispered as they began to move. "Is it? Everyone is staring at us like we are performing monkeys. Then let us give them something to stare at." John pulled her closer, close enough that it was almost improper for a public venue, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something floral and subtle, close enough that he could feel her heartbeat against his chest. "What are you doing?" she asked, breathless. "Making sure they know you are mine." It was for show, he told himself, just maintaining the fiction. But the possessiveness in his voice felt real, and the way Lily looked up at him, eyes wide and lips parted, made his heart race in a way that had nothing to do with performance. They danced through one song, then another, and somewhere in that ballroom full of judgmental eyes and whispered gossip, John forgot they were pretending. One woman approached them after the dancing, Catherine Vanderbilt, a fixture of Boston society and a friend of his mother's. She looked Lily up and down with barely concealed disdain. "How quaint," Catherine said, her smile sharp. "A housekeeper. Jonathan, your mother must be beside herself." John felt Lily stiffen. Before he could respond, though, Lily spoke. "I am an event planner, actually. I managed a successful business before personal circumstances required a change. And yes, I worked as a housekeeper. Honest work is nothing to be ashamed of." "What is it you do, Mrs. Vanderbilt, besides manage your trust fund?" The ballroom seemed to go quiet. Catherine's face turned red. John struggled not to laugh. Catherine sputtered. "Well, I never." "Perhaps you should," Lily said pleasantly. "Might give you perspective." Catherine turned and walked away, her heels clicking on the marble floor. Around them, John could see shocked faces, and a few, he noted with satisfaction, looked impressed. "I am so sorry," Lily said immediately. "I should not have said that. Do not apologize." John was grinning. "That was magnificent. I probably just made everything worse. You defended yourself. That takes courage. Or stupidity. Sometimes they are the same thing." They left the brunch early. In the car, Lily laughed, the kind of laughter that came from relief and residual adrenaline. "I cannot believe I said that to Catherine Vanderbilt. Your mother is going to kill me. My mother is going to love you." The words hung in the air between them. Love, a dangerous word for a fake relationship. John cleared his throat. "I meant, she will appreciate your spirit." "Right, of course." But when they got home and found Maggie watching the children, when Emma ran to hug them both and asked how the party was, when Jack grabbed John's leg and refused to let go, John realized something. This did not feel fake anymore. Sunday dinner had been a Hartwell family tradition for years. Eleanor hosted, Trish and her family attended, and John showed up out of obligation. But this Sunday was different. This Sunday, John suggested they hosted the brownstone instead. Eleanor was surprised but agreed. Trish was delighted, and Lily was terrified. "I do not know how to host a dinner party for your family," she told John. "You planned events for a living." That was different. That was other people's families. John found her in the kitchen 3 hours before everyone was due to arrive, surrounded by cookbooks and looking panicked. Maggie was trying to help, but Lily had worked herself into a state of anxiety that no amount of reassurance could penetrate. "What if I use the wrong fork? What if I serve the wrong wine? What if—" "Lily!" John stopped her frantic movement with a hand on her shoulder. "They are just people. My sister brings her children. They will probably spill things and cry and make a mess. My mother is exacting, but she is not a monster. And if anyone makes you feel uncomfortable in our home, they can leave." "Our home," the phrase slipped out naturally, Lily noticed. "Your home," she corrected gently. "No." John was surprised to realize he meant it. "Ours." Dinner was chaos in the best way. Trish arrived with her husband David and their 2 children, 8-year-old Michael and 6-year-old Sophie. The kids immediately found Emma and Jack, and within minutes the house echoed with screaming and laughter. Eleanor arrived last, regal as always, her eyes taking in every detail. The table setting, the slightly burned roast, the finger paintings on the refrigerator, the evidence of children everywhere. "This is different," Eleanor said. "Is it okay?" Lily asked nervously. Eleanor smiled, and it softened her entire face. "It is wonderful. This house was meant to have children in it." They sat down to dinner. It was loud and messy. Sophie spilled her milk. Michael argued with Emma about some perceived slight. Jack threw food. But there was laughter too. Stories. David told a joke that made everyone groan. Trish shared gossip about a mutual acquaintance. John found himself talking more than he had in years. Lily was quiet, taking it all in. But John noticed the way she watched Emma interact with the other children, the relief on her face that her daughter was happy, the way she smiled when Eleanor complimented the roast, even though they both knew it was overcooked. After dinner, while the children played in the library, the adults sat in the living room. Eleanor turned to Lily with the direct gaze she used when she wanted real answers. "Tell me about your family, dear." Lily tensed. "There is not much to tell. My parents died when I was young. I was raised by my grandmother. She passed 5 years ago. So you have been alone." "Essentially, yes." "And your late husband's family?" Lily's expression closed off. "They blamed me for the medical debt, for pursuing treatments that did not work. We do not speak." Eleanor nodded slowly. "Then we will be your family now." The simple declaration made Lily's eyes fill with tears. She blinked them back quickly, but not before John saw. "Thank you," Lily whispered. Trish pulled Lily aside later while John and David were getting the children ready to leave. "I know this started as an arrangement," Trish said quietly, "but John is falling for you. You see that, right?" Lily looked across the room to where John was reading to Emma and Jack, a child on each side of him, his voice doing different characters. "He looks comfortable. He looks happy. I have not seen him happy in 3 years. That is because of you. I'm not sure I deserve that credit." "Then you are not paying attention." That night, after everyone had left, after Emma and Jack were in bed, John found Lily cleaning up in the kitchen. She was washing dishes by hand, even though they had a dishwasher, her hands moving through the soapy water with mechanical efficiency. "You do not have to do that," John said. "I like to keep my hands busy. Helps me think." "What are you thinking about?" Lily dried her hands and turned to face him. "How kind your family has been. How lucky we are." "We." Another significant pronoun. John stepped closer. "It was not luck. You make it easy to be kind to you. I do not feel like I do anything special. You make this house feel like a home. You make my family smile. You make me—" He stopped, the words catching in his throat. "Make you what?" Lily asked "Feel alive again." The kitchen felt too small suddenly, too intimate. Lily was close enough that John could see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes, could count the freckles across her nose. "John," she started, but whatever she was going to say was interrupted by a cry from upstairs. Jack was awake, crying for his mother. The moment broke. Lily hurried upstairs, and John was left alone in the kitchen, his heart racing. This was becoming complicated. Later that week, John had a business gala to attend, an investor event for Hartwell and Associates, the kind of networking dinner he had attended 100 times before. But this time, Lily would be with him as his fiancée, not as invisible staff. She spent all day preparing. Trish had taken her shopping for a dress, something more formal than the navy outfit she had worn to the brunch. When Lily came down the stairs that evening, John forgot how to breathe. The dress was midnight blue, elegant and sophisticated, showing just enough to be interesting without being improper. She had done something different with her hair, swept it up in a way that exposed the graceful line of her neck. She looked beautiful, not like someone trying to fit into his world, like someone who belonged anywhere she chose to be. "You look stunning," John said. Lily blushed. Trish helped. "I have no idea what half these accessories are for." "You look perfect." The gala was at the Four Seasons, in a ballroom that dripped with crystal and old money. John's investors were there, the people who had funded his company's growth, who would determine the success of the upcoming IPO. Robert Chen, John's business partner, approached them immediately. "John, good to see you. And this must be the famous Lillian." Lily shook his hand. "Please, call me Lily. And I am not famous, just new." "New and causing quite a stir." Robert's smile was friendly but assessing. "John has been very mysterious about you. Says you are an event planner?" "I was. I am hoping to reopen my business eventually." Robert looked around the ballroom. "Well, whoever planned this could use your help. The flow is terrible, and the lighting is all wrong." Lily laughed. "I was thinking the same thing. The bar should be in the corner, not the center. Creates a bottleneck." "Exactly," Robert looked delighted. "John, where have you been hiding this woman?" They moved through the crowd. Lily impressed everyone she spoke to. She was genuine where others were performative, warm where they were calculating. She asked questions and actually listened to the answers. She made people feel seen. John watched her work the room and realized something. She was not trying to be someone else. She was just being herself, and that was more powerful than any society training. During dinner, Lily sat between John and a potential investor named Thomas Wright. Wright was old Boston money, the kind of man who valued pedigree over substance. John had always found him exhausting, but Lily had Wright laughing within minutes. She told a story about a disastrous wedding she had planned where the cake caught fire and the groom's pants split during the first dance. Her timing was perfect, her delivery hilarious. By the end of the story, the entire table was in tears from laughter. John looked at her with something that felt dangerously like pride. Later, they danced. The ballroom lights were dim, romantic. A live band played standards from another era. John held Lily close, closer than was strictly necessary. "You were amazing tonight," he told her. "I just talked to people. You charmed every single person in this room. Robert is convinced you are the best thing that ever happened to me." Lily looked up at him. "Am I?" The question hung between them, loaded with meaning. John knew the safe answer, the answer that maintained boundaries. But he was tired of safe. "Yes," he said simply. Her breath caught. He felt it against his chest. They were swaying now more than dancing, barely moving, just holding each other. "John," Lily whispered, "this is supposed to be pretend." "I know. But it does not feel pretend anymore." "I know that too." They stood still in the middle of the dance floor, other couples moving around them like water around stones. The moment stretched, fragile and precious. Then John's phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. It buzzed again, persistent. "You should check that," Lily said. He pulled out the phone, annoyed at the interruption. The screen showed 3 missed calls from Trish and a text message. "Emergency, call me now." John stepped off the dance floor, Lily following. He called his sister back. "What is wrong?" "It is Emma," Trish said. And John's heart stopped. "She is fine, physically fine. But something happened at school. She is really upset. Maggie did not know what to do, so she called me. I came over, but Emma is asking for you and Lily. We will be right there." They left the gala immediately, apologies given to confused investors. The drive home took 20 minutes, but felt like hours. Lily was silent beside him, her hands twisted together in her lap. At the brownstone, they found Maggie and Trish in the kitchen. Emma was upstairs in her room, Trish explained. She came home from school crying. Some girls in her class were being cruel. "About what?" Lily asked, though her voice suggested she already knew. "About you and John, about the engagement. They were saying things they probably heard from their parents. That Lily is a gold digger, that she trapped you, that Emma does not have a real father." John felt rage flood through him. "She is 9 years old. Kids can be vicious," Trish said, "especially rich kids who learn cruelty from their parents." Lily was already heading upstairs. John followed. They found Emma curled on her bed, her face red and swollen from crying. When she saw them, she sat up. "They said you are not my real dad," Emma told John, her voice breaking. "They said you are just Mom's boss pretending to like us." John sat on the bed and pulled Emma into his arms. The gesture was instinctive, protective. "Listen to me very carefully. Being a dad is not about biology. It is about showing up. It is about being there when you need help with homework or when you have a bad day or when you just need someone to read you a story. And I am here, Emma. I am right here." "But what if they are right? What if you leave when the year is—" She stopped, awareness dawning. Emma looked at her mother. Lily's face had gone pale. "When the year is what?" Emma asked. "Nothing, sweetheart," Lily said quickly. "You must have misunderstood." But Emma was 9 and smart and had been paying attention. "I heard you talking to Rachel. About a contract, about 1 year." The silence in the room was deafening. John felt his world tilting. Their secret, the foundation of everything, exposed by a child's sharp ears. Lily knelt beside the bed. "Emma, I need you to listen. Is it true? Is John just here for a year?" Lily looked at John, desperate. He saw the plea in her eyes. Tell her the truth or maintain the lie? John made a decision. He looked at Emma directly. This brave little girl who had already lost one father and was terrified of losing another. "It is complicated," he said. "Your mom and I made an agreement when we first started this. But Emma, I need you to understand something. I made a promise to you. And I keep my promises. I am not going anywhere. Not now. Not ever. Do you believe me?" Emma studied his face, searching for deception. Then, Slowly, she nodded. Promise? I promise. I am your dad now, for real. Not because of a contract or an agreement, because I choose to be. Emma threw her arms around his neck and cried. John held her, looking over her head at Lily. Lily's face was wet with tears, her expression a mixture of gratitude and fear. They had just made a promise to a 9-year-old girl. A promise that extended far beyond the terms of their contract. A promise that changed everything. After Emma finally fell asleep, exhausted from crying, John and Lily went downstairs. Trish had left. Maggie had tactfully disappeared to her own quarters. They were alone. She knows, Lily said quietly. Or suspects. She is young, she will forget. Will she, or did we just complicate everything? John poured himself a whiskey, offered one to Lily. She accepted. They sat in the library, the room that had become their space, where they had their late-night conversations. I meant what I said, John told her, about not going anywhere. You cannot promise that. The contract? Forget the contract. John set down his glass. I am not talking about legal obligations. I am talking about Emma, and Jack and you. I am in too deep now, Lily. I cannot just walk away at the end of a year and pretend this did not matter. What are you saying? I am saying this stopped being fake weeks ago. Maybe it was never really fake. Maybe we just told ourselves it was so we would not have to deal with how complicated this is. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then, I am terrified. Of what? Of needing you. Of my children needing you. Of building a life that could disappear. It will not disappear. You do not know that. Life does not come with guarantees. My husband died. Your wife died. We both know how fast everything can fall apart. John reached across the space between them and took her hand. You are right. There are no guarantees. But hiding from life because we are afraid is not living. It is just existing. And I am tired of existing. Lily squeezed his hand. What if we fail? What if we do not? They sat in the library until late, talking about fear and hope and the terrifying prospect of trying again. Of opening hearts that had been closed by grief, of building something real from the fiction they had created. The next morning brought new complications. John arrived at his office to find Robert waiting with a grim expression. We have a problem, Robert said. In the conference room, Robert laid out the situation. The Morrison Family Fund, one of their major investors, was threatening to pull their support from the IPO. The reason? John's inappropriate relationship with his housekeeper. They are claiming it shows poor judgment, Robert explained. They are questioning your ability to lead the company. This is about Vanessa, John said. Her family is angry I did not marry her. Maybe. But their concerns are legitimate in the eyes of other investors. The optics are not good, John. You are a CEO marrying someone who is on your staff. There are questions about exploitation, about ethics. This is absurd. Lily and I are in love. Are you? Robert looked at him directly. Because 2 months ago you were a recluse who never mentioned being interested in anyone. Now you are engaged. It is fast, John. People are going to question it. Let them question. It is not just reputation. The Morrison Fund holds 15% of the investor pool. If they pull out, others might follow. We could lose the IPO. John felt the weight of it. His company, the business he had built over 15 years, potentially destroyed because of his personal life. What are they demanding? He asked, though he already knew. That you end the engagement, marry someone more appropriate, or they walk. John thought about Emma's question, about his promise, about Lily and the life they were building. No, he said. Robert blinked. No, I am not ending my engagement. If the Morrison Fund wants to pull out, let them. We will find other investors. John, this could tank the entire IPO. Then it tanks. I am not sacrificing my family for a stock offering. Robert stared at him like he had grown a second head. Who are you, and what did you do with Jonathan Hartwell? I am someone who finally has something worth protecting. That evening, John came home to find Lily in the kitchen, preparing dinner with Maggie. She looked up when he entered, saw something in his face. What happened? He told her everything. The Morrison Fund's ultimatum, the threat to the IPO, the choice he had to make. Lily set down the knife she had been using. You should do it. Do what? End this. The engagement. It is not real anyway. You can tell everyone I deceived you, that you discovered the truth. Protect your company. No, John, this is your life's work, and you are my life. He had not meant to say it so plainly, but there it was. The truth laid bare. Lily's eyes filled with tears. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you work harder than anyone I have ever met. I know you love your children with a fierceness that amazes me. I know you make me want to be better. And I know that losing the company would hurt, but losing you and Emma and Jack would destroy me. What about the employees, the people who depend on the company? We will figure it out. But I am not trading you for stock options. Lily crossed the kitchen and wrapped her arms around him. He held her close, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling the solid reality of her against him. We are in trouble, aren't we? She whispered. Probably. Good trouble or bad trouble? I have not decided yet. That Sunday, Eleanor requested their presence at dinner. Just John and Lily, no children. The invitation felt ominous. They arrived at Eleanor's estate to find her alone in the formal dining room. The table was set for 3, but it was intimate rather than grand. Eleanor was drinking wine, which was unusual for her. Sit, she commanded. They sat. Eleanor poured them each a glass of wine, then settled into her chair with the bearing of a queen. I have heard about the Morrison Fund situation, she began. And I have heard that you refused to end your engagement despite the consequences. Yes, John said. Eleanor looked at Lily. And you offered to walk away. I did, but he refused. He did. Eleanor sipped her wine. I want the truth now. No performance, no pretense. Is this relationship real or are you both still pretending? John and Lily exchanged glances. The moment of truth. Maintain the lie or risk everything? It started as an arrangement, John admitted. Lily needed help with her debts. I needed to avoid an arranged marriage. We signed a contract. Eleanor nodded. I know. I have known from the beginning. The confession hung in the air. Lily looked shocked. John was not entirely surprised. How? He asked. Because I'm not a fool. Trish told me. She thought I should know the truth before I humiliated myself defending you. And you defended us anyway. Because I watched you at that engagement party. Eleanor leaned forward. I saw the way you looked at her when you thought no one was watching. I saw her touch your arm to steady herself, and the way you responded like it was instinct. I saw 2 people who might have started as a business arrangement, but had become something else entirely. She turned to Lily. I arranged my son's first marriage. Did he tell you that? Lily shook her head. Catherine was supposed to marry into another family. Business purposes. But John was young and handsome and persistent. He convinced her family to let him court her instead. They fell in love. Made it real. Eleanor's voice softened. When she got sick, I watched my son spend 8 years caring for her. 8 years of hospitals and hope and heartbreak. When she died, part of him died too. I thought I would never see him live again. She looked at John. Then you brought home a woman with 2 children, and suddenly you were laughing, helping with homework, reading bedtime stories. You were alive again. Tears tracked down Eleanor's face. She wiped them away impatiently. I do not care how this started. I care that my son has come back to me. That is worth more than any appropriate marriage. Thank you, Mother. But Eleanor was not finished. She looked at Lily again. I need to know your intentions. Are you in this for the money, for the lifestyle, or do you love my son? The question was blunt, demanding. Lily took a breath. I did not want to love him, she said quietly. I was not looking for love. I was looking for survival. But Jonathan is the kindest man I have ever met. He is patient with my daughter. He holds my son like he is precious. He makes me feel safe in a way I have not felt since Michael died. So yes, I love him. More than I thought I could love anyone again. John reached for her hand under the table. Eleanor saw the gesture. And you? Eleanor asked her son. Do you love her? John did not hesitate. Yes, completely. Eleanor sat back in her chair. Then you fight for her. You fight for this family you are building. And I will help you. How? I still control 35% of Hartwell and Associates through your father's trust. I will vote my shares in support of you at the board meeting. Between my shares and your own, you have controlling interest. The Morrison Fund can threaten all they want. They cannot force you out. John felt relief wash over him. Mother. But there is a condition. Of course there was. Eleanor's eyes were sharp. Stop lying to yourselves and everyone else. If you love each other, make it real. Have a real wedding. Build a real marriage. I will not have my family founded on deception. It is already real, Lily said softly. We just have not admitted it yet. Then admit it. Eleanor raised her glass. To real love, however it begins. They drank, and John felt something shift. Some weight he had been carrying for years finally lifting. On the drive home, neither of them spoke for a long time. The implications of the evening sat heavy between them. Your mother just gave us permission to be real, Lily finally said. She did. And you told her you love me? I do. Lily turned to look at him. The contract expires in 10 months. I know. What happens then? John pulled the car over. They were on a quiet street in Beacon Hill, the brownstones lit from within, families visible through windows. Real lives, real homes. He turned to Lily. What if we did not wait 10 months? What if we tore up the contract now and started over, really started over? As what? As two people who love each other and want to build a life together. No expiration date, no exit strategy. Just us. That is terrifying. John smiled. Everything worthwhile is terrifying. Lily kissed him then. Not for show, not for practice. Because she wanted to. Because she was tired of pretending she did not. When they pulled apart, she was smiling through tears. Okay, she said, let us be terrified together. The next week, the Morrison Fund made their move. They called a press conference to announce their withdrawal from the Hartwell and Associates IPO. James Morrison stood before cameras and questioned John's judgment, his ethics, his fitness to lead a public company. The media picked up the story immediately. CEO's questionable romance threatens major IPO. Housekeeper to wife, gold digger or true love. The headlines were brutal. John's phone rang constantly. Investors wanting reassurance, board members demanding explanations, reporters seeking comments. Robert called an emergency board meeting. John stood before 12 skeptical faces and made his case. I am not apologizing for loving someone, he said. Lily and I met through unusual circumstances. Yes, she worked for me briefly, but our relationship is real, and I will not end it to appease investors who care more about appearances than substance. One board member spoke up. This is about more than appearances. It is about trust. How can shareholders trust your judgment if you make such impulsive decisions? Impulsive? John laughed. I spent 3 years alone, 3 years grieving, 3 years going through the motions of life without actually living. Lily brought me back. She and her children gave me a reason to care about the future. If that is impulsive, then I am guilty. The board voted. With Eleanor's shares and John's own holdings, he maintained control. But it was close, and 3 board members resigned in protest. The Morrison Fund's withdrawal did cause other investors to hesitate. The IPO was delayed, not canceled, but postponed pending resolution of the leadership questions. John came home that night exhausted and defeated. He found Lily waiting in the library. I should go, she said. This is destroying everything you built. No, John, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. He sat beside her. I built that company to have something to leave behind, to matter. But what good is leaving a legacy if I am miserable while creating it? You and Emma and Jack, you are my legacy now. That matters more. The business could fail. Then it fails. And I start something new. With you. Lily looked at him with tears in her eyes. You are crazy. Probably. He kissed her softly. Is that a problem? No. She kissed him back. It is perfect. That night, they made a decision. No more pretending. No more contracts. They would make this real in every way that mattered. John called a press conference of his own for the following week. He planned to address the allegations, defend his relationship, and dare anyone to question his judgment. But more importantly, he planned to propose to Lily again. For real this time. In front of cameras and reporters and the whole world. Because some things were worth fighting for. And love, real love, was worth everything. They had fallen in love against all odds. Now they had to prove that love was real. In court, in public, and in the eyes of everyone who doubted them. The fight for their family was about to begin, and the cost would be higher than either of them imagined. The lawsuit arrived on a Tuesday morning, delivered by a process server who handed John the papers with the indifferent efficiency of someone who delivered bad news for a living. Jonathan Hartwell versus Morrison Family Fund. Civil fraud. Stock manipulation. Breach of fiduciary duty. John stood in his office, reading the allegations. They claimed he had fabricated a relationship to generate public sympathy for the upcoming IPO, that he had exploited an employee, that his judgment was compromised, that he was unfit to lead a public company. The dollar amount they were seeking was staggering, $50 million in damages, plus an injunction preventing the IPO from proceeding until the matter was resolved. Robert appeared in the doorway, his face grim. Legal called. They want to meet today. The law firm of Winters and Associates occupied 3 floors of a glass tower in the financial district. Trish met them in the conference room, along with senior partner Michael Winters, a man in his 60s with steel gray hair and the bearing of someone who had spent decades in courtrooms. "This is bad," Winters said without preamble. "The Morrison Fund has an army of lawyers in deep pockets. They are going to make this ugly." "How ugly?" John asked. "They will attack everything. Your relationship timeline, Lily's financial situation, every decision you made regarding the IPO. They will paint you as either a manipulator or a fool, possibly both. What are our options?" Winters opened a folder. "The simplest solution is to end the engagement. Announce that you discovered Lily deceived you about her intentions. Claim you were the victim. The lawsuit would likely be dropped." "No," John said immediately. "Mr. Hartwell, I understand you have feelings for this woman, but we are talking about your company, your reputation, potentially your entire future. My future is with Lily. That is not negotiable." Trish spoke up. "Then we fight. We prove the relationship is genuine. We show that John's personal life has no bearing on his ability to run the company." Winters looked skeptical. "That will be difficult. You have a signed contract, evidence of payment, a relationship that progressed impossibly fast. The optics are terrible." "So we tell the truth," John said. "We admit it started as an arrangement, but we make the jury understand that it became real, that love does not follow convenient timelines. You want to go to trial admitting fraud? I want to go to trial admitting humanity." Robert looked at John like he had lost his mind. "This is insane. If we admit the contract existed, we hand them their case. Or we control the narrative," Trish countered. "We get ahead of it. We do not let them define what this relationship is." Winters sighed. "If you are determined to proceed this way, you need to understand what you are facing. They will destroy Lily's character. Every debt, every struggle, every choice she made will be questioned. Can she handle that?" John thought about Lily's strength, the way she had survived 4 years of single motherhood and crushing debt without breaking. She is stronger than anyone gives her credit for. She will need to be. That evening, John came home to find Lily playing with Jack in the living room. Emma was at the dining table doing homework. The scene was so domestic, so normal, that John felt his heart twist. Lily looked up and saw his face. What happened? He told her everything. The lawsuit, the meeting with the lawyers, the brutal reality of what a trial would mean. She listened without interrupting, her expression growing more serious with each detail. When he finished, Lily stood up and handed Jack to Maggie. "Can we talk? Privately?" In the library, Lily closed the door. Then she turned to face John with resolve in her eyes. "I will leave." "What?" "I will disappear. Move to another state. You can tell everyone I deceived you, that you discovered my real intentions. You will look like the victim. The lawsuit goes away." "Absolutely not." "John, this is your life's work. 15 years building this company. Hundreds of employees depending on you. I am not worth losing all of that. You are worth everything." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "I am a widow with 2 kids and nearly $100,000 in medical debt. I have no family, no connections, nothing to offer you except complications." John crossed the room and took her face in his hands. "You offer me life. You offer me Emma and Jack. You offer me mornings that are chaotic and loud and real. You offer me a reason to come home. That is worth more than any company. What about the people who will lose their jobs if this fails? We will figure it out, but I will not trade you for a stock price." Lily leaned into his touch. "I am terrified." "So am I, but we face it together." From the doorway, a small voice spoke. "Are you and Mom going to court?" They turned to find Emma standing there, her homework forgotten. John realized how much she had heard. "Yes," John said honestly. "Some people think our family is not real. We have to prove them wrong." Emma walked into the library with the serious determination of a child forced to grow up too fast. I can tell them you are my real dad." "Sweetheart, you do not have to," Lily began. "But I want to." Emma looked at John. You promised you would not leave. I believe you. Other people should too. John knelt down to Emma's level. You are the bravest person I know. Emma hugged him fiercely. You are my dad. That is real. Anyone who says different is stupid. Despite the gravity of the situation, John found himself smiling. I could not have said it better myself. The following week brought a development no one expected. Vanessa Morrison called Lily directly, asking to meet for coffee. Lily was suspicious. Vanessa was the daughter of the man suing them. This could be a trap. But curiosity won out. They met at a small cafe in the South End, far from their usual society haunts. Vanessa was already seated when Lily arrived, looking elegant but tired. Thank you for coming, Vanessa said. I was not sure you would. I'm not sure I should have. Vanessa smiled sadly. I do not blame you for being cautious. My family is doing terrible things to yours. Why did you want to meet? Vanessa took a breath. I want to testify. On your behalf. Lily stared. What? I want to tell the court about the marriage pressure John faced. About how my father and his mother were pushing us together for business reasons. About how John resisted for years. Why would you do that? Because it is the truth. And because... Vanessa hesitated. I have been living a lie my whole life. Watching you and John fight for your love made me realize I need to fight for mine. I do not understand. I am in love with someone. Have been for 15 years. But my family would never accept it. So I have been hiding, pretending, playing the role of the perfect daughter while dying inside. Who? Her name is Charlotte. We met in college. My family thinks she is just my friend and business associate. They have no idea we have been together all this time. Lily felt her perspective shift. Vanessa was not the privileged princess she had assumed. She was someone trapped by expectations, fighting her own battles. I'm sorry, Lily said softly. Do not be. You gave me courage. Watching John stand up to everyone, watching you refuse to hide it made me realize I have been a coward. You are not a coward, you are protecting yourself. No, I am protecting my family's expectations while sacrificing my own happiness. There is a difference. Vanessa met Lily's eyes. Your family is under attack because of mine. Let me help you fight back. Your father will be furious. He already is. He found out about Charlotte. That is why he is really doing this. The lawsuit is not about business ethics or stock prices. It is about punishment. He blames John's inappropriate marriage for giving me ideas, for making me question whether I should keep hiding. So this is revenge, partly. And partly control. My father cannot stand to lose control. When John defied him, when you defied social expectations, it threatened his entire worldview. Lily processed this. If you testify, you lose everything. Your family, your inheritance, your position in society. I already lost the things that matter. Charlotte is ready to be public. She has been waiting 15 years for me to be brave enough. Vanessa's voice strengthened. I am ready now. When Lily told John about the meeting, he was stunned. Vanessa is willing to testify against her own father? She says this is not really about us. It is about control, about her father punishing anyone who chooses love over duty. John thought about the implications. If she testifies, it changes everything. It shows the Morrison Fund's true motivations. But Lily, it will destroy her relationship with her family. She knows she is choosing to do it anyway. John felt a mixture of gratitude and guilt. We should talk to her, make sure she understands what she is risking. They met with Vanessa the next day, this time with Trish present. Vanessa was resolute. She had already drafted a statement detailing the marriage pressure, her father's control, and the real reasons behind the lawsuit. This is incredibly brave, Trish said. But you need to understand, once you testify, there is no going back. I know, but I am tired of going back. I want to move forward, and I want my testimony to help you. The legal team decided to get aggressive. They called a press conference for the following Friday. John would address the allegations directly, control the narrative before the trial began. The night before, John could not sleep. He found Lily in the kitchen at 2 a.m, drinking tea and looking equally restless. Second thoughts? She asked. 100 of them. We do not have to do this. We could settle quietly, end the engagement, make this go away. John sat beside her. Do you want to end the engagement? No. But I want you to have a choice. I am choosing you. Tomorrow, I am going to stand in front of cameras and tell the world that I love you. That started as a business arrangement but became the most real thing in my life. I am terrified, but I am certain. Lily took his hand. Then we do this together. The press conference was held at the Hartwell and Associates headquarters. Dozens of reporters packed the room, cameras ready, questions prepared. John stood at a podium with Lily beside him, Trish and Robert flanking them. John began with a prepared statement. He explained that yes, his relationship with Lily had begun unconventionally, that yes, there had been a contract, that yes, money had exchanged hands. The room erupted and shouted questions. John held up a hand. But here is what that contract could not account for. It could not account for the way Lily's daughter reads in my library every night. It could not account for her son calling me Dada. It could not account for the way coming home feels like coming to life. His voice strengthened. I am being sued for fraud, for stock manipulation, for having poor judgment. Let me address each of those claims. I did not defraud anyone. Our relationship is real, even if it started as arrangement. I did not manipulate stock prices. The company's value is based on years of solid performance. And as for poor judgment, the only poor judgment I made was waiting 3 years after my wife's death to start living again. He looked at Lily. This woman saved my life. She brought joy back into a house that had been dead for years. She gave me a family when I thought I would spend the rest of my life alone. If loving her is a crime, then I am guilty. Lily stepped to the microphone, her voice shaking but clear. I am not going to pretend this started as a fairy tale. I was desperate. I had $95,000 in medical debt from my late husband's illness. I was about to lose my apartment. I was terrified of what would happen to my children. When John offered me a contract, I took it. I took it because I was drowning and he threw me a lifeline. She paused, gathering herself. But what happened next, no one could have predicted. John did not just pay my debt. He became a father to my children. He read bedtime stories and helped with homework and showed up when we needed him. He made us feel safe. And somewhere in all of that, I fell in love with him. A reporter shouted a question. Ms. Mitchell, how do we know this is not just an elaborate scheme to access his wealth? Because I would give it all back to keep him. Every dollar. If John had to choose between his company and our family, I would beg him to choose the company. But he chose us anyway. That is not a scheme. That is love. The press conference was a calculated risk. Some media outlets praised their honesty. Others doubled down on the fraud allegations. The story went viral. Social media exploded with opinions, divided roughly down the middle between people who saw a romantic love story and people who saw a manipulative gold digger. But something unexpected happened. Regular people started speaking up. John's employees gave interviews defending his character. Lily's old neighbors in Dorchester talked about her years of struggle, her devotion to her children. Emma's teacher wrote an op-ed about the transformation she had seen in the girl since John entered her life. Rachel organized a grassroots campaign. Hashtags emerged. Real love, real story. Second chances matter. The counter-narrative began to build momentum. Eleanor gave an interview to the Boston Globe. The reporter asked if she approved of her son's relationship. My son spent 8 years caring for a dying wife, Eleanor said. 8 years of hospitals and hope and heartbreak. When she died, I watched the light go out of him. I thought I would never see him happy again. Then he met Lily, and my son came back to life. Do I approve? I celebrate it. The article went viral. The image of the stern Boston matriarch defending her son's housekeeper girlfriend captured public imagination. But not everyone was supportive. The deposition process was brutal. Lily sat in a conference room with Morrison Fund lawyers who treated her like a criminal. Ms. Mitchell, when did you first learn about Mr. Hartwell's wealth? The first day I interviewed at his house. And you took the job immediately? I needed work. I had children to feed. Convenient that you ended up engaged to him 3 months later. It was not convenient, it was complicated. They went through every aspect of her life. Her marriage to Michael, the medical bills, every job she had worked, every apartment she had lived in. They made it sound sordid, calculated, predatory. Is it not true that you researched Mr. Hartwell before your interview? I knew his name. He is a prominent businessman. Anyone would have looked him up. And you saw he was a wealthy widower. I saw he was a person who needed help managing his household. A household you now live in, as his fiancé. How much is that household worth, Ms. Mitchell? I have no idea. $10 million. Does that sound about right? Lily fought to keep her voice steady. I did not ask for appraisals. But you certainly benefited from his wealth. Debts paid, a mansion to live in, designer clothes, private school for your daughter. I would trade all of it for one more day with my husband. I would live in that cramped apartment forever, if it meant Michael was alive. I did not want this life. I wanted my old life back, but that was not an option. So I did what any mother would do. I survived. By seducing a vulnerable widower? By accepting help when it was offered and falling in love despite my best efforts not to. The deposition lasted 6 hours. When it was over, Lily was shaking. Trish drove her home and found John waiting anxiously. "How bad was it?" John asked. Trish answered, "They were brutal," but she held up beautifully. Lily collapsed onto the couch. "They think I am a monster." John sat beside her and pulled her close. "You are the strongest person I know. I feel weak. Being strong does not mean never breaking. It means breaking and still getting back up." The next blow came from an unexpected source. Emma's school called. There had been an incident. Emma had gotten into a fight with another student. John and Lily rushed to the school. In the principal's office, they found Emma with a bloody nose and a defiant expression. Across from her sat Madison Cooper, daughter of one of Eleanor's society friends. The principal explained, "Madison apparently made comments about Ms. Mitchell." Emma responded physically. "What kind of comments?" John asked. Madison's mother shifted uncomfortably. "My daughter simply repeated what she heard adults discussing, about the appropriateness of certain relationships." Emma spoke up. "She called my mom a gold digger. She said we were trash and we did not belong in their school." John felt rage flood through him. His voice when he spoke was ice cold. "And you felt that justified a 9-year-old repeating vicious gossip?" "Mr. Hartwell," the principal interjected. "Violence is never acceptable. Neither is bullying." John looked at Madison's mother. "Your daughter tormented mine." Emma defended herself. "I am not going to punish her for that." "Emma has been suspended for 3 days, the principal said. "School policy." "Fine." John stood. "Emma, get your things." In the car, Emma was quiet. Finally, she spoke. "I'm sorry I hit her." "Are you?" John asked. "No, she deserved it." "Emma," Lily said gently, "violence is not the answer." "But lies are okay?" Emma's voice rose. "Everyone is lying about you, saying terrible things. And we are just supposed to be quiet and take it?" "We fight back with truth," John said, "not fists. Truth does not work when people do not want to believe it." The child had a point. John pulled the car over and turned to face Emma. "You are right. This is not fair. People are being cruel to your mother and there's nothing you can do about it. That must feel awful." "It does. But here is what I know. Your mother is the strongest, bravest person I have ever met. She survived losing your father. She raised you and Jack alone. She built a life from nothing. A few gossips do not change that. And neither does a lawsuit. What if we lose? Then we lose. But we do not lose each other. I promised you I would not leave. That promise has nothing to do with court cases or public opinion. Understand?" Emma nodded. Then, "Are you really going to marry my mom? For real?" "For real." "Good. She needs someone. And you are pretty good at being a dad." The compliment, delivered with Emma's characteristic bluntness, made John's throat tight. "Thank you." That night, Emma could not sleep again. She came down to find John in his study, working on trial preparation. Without asking, she climbed into his lap, something she had not done since she was much younger. "Tell me about your wife," she said. John was surprised. "Catherine?" "Yeah, was she nice?" "She was wonderful, kind and funny and brave. She fought cancer for 8 years and never lost hope." "Do you still love her?" "Always. But not in the way that takes away from loving your mother. The heart is bigger than people think. It has room for all kinds of love." Emma was quiet for a moment. "My dad was nice too. He used to make pancakes on Sundays and do funny voices when he read to me. I bet he was wonderful. I do not remember his voice anymore. That makes me sad." John held her closer. "It is okay to be sad about that. Do you think he would like you?" "I hope so. I try to be worthy of you and your brother. I try to honor his memory by being the dad you need now." Emma looked up at him. You are exactly the dad I need." Later, after Emma had gone back to bed, Lily found John still in his study. He was not working anymore. He was holding a piece of paper, tears on his face. "What is that?" "Emma wrote something for the court. She wants to testify." Lily took the paper. In Emma's careful handwriting was a letter addressed to the judge. It explained that John was not her biological father, but was her real dad in every way that mattered. That he helped with homework and read stories and showed up for school events. That he made her mother smile again. That their family was real, even if it started differently than most families. The letter ended with a plea. "Please do not take my dad away. We need him." Lily was crying now too. "We cannot let her testify. She is too young." Trish thinks we can submit the letter. Let the judge read it privately. Emma does not have to be in court. We are putting our daughter in the middle of this. She is already in the middle of it. This is her family too. She has a right to defend it. The trial began on a Monday in late spring. The courthouse was crowded with reporters and spectators. John and Lily walked in together hand in hand, heads high despite the cameras. The Morrison Fund's lawyers were formidable. 3 attorneys from one of Boston's most prestigious firms, armed with boxes of evidence and a clear strategy. Paint John as either a manipulator who exploited a vulnerable employee or a fool with terrible judgment. Either way, prove him unfit to lead a public company. The opening statements laid out the battle lines. Morrison's lead attorney, a woman named Patricia Chen, was sharp and precise. "This is a case about fraud," she told the jury. "About a man who fabricated a relationship to generate public sympathy for a stock offering. Who paid a woman to pose as his fiancée. Who violated every principle of corporate ethics to serve his own interests." Trish responded with equal force. "This is a case about control, about a family that could not accept my brother's choice to love someone they deemed inappropriate, about revenge disguised as concern for corporate governance." The first witnesses were experts, financial analysts testifying about stock prices, corporate governance specialists discussing fiduciary duty, dry testimony that made the jury's eyes glaze over. Then Morrison's team called their character witnesses, people who testified about John's relationship with Catherine, how devoted he had been, how unlikely it was that he would move on so quickly. The implication was clear. The speed suggested calculation, not genuine feeling. They called Emma's school principal, who testified about the suspension, the disruption the relationship had caused. They made it sound like John's personal life was creating chaos everywhere. They called one of Lily's former neighbors, a woman who testified that Lily had once mentioned wanting to find a wealthy husband. The testimony was devastating, even though Lily insisted it had been a joke made years ago, when she and Michael were joking about winning the lottery. But when cross-examined by Trish, the neighbor admitted the conversation had been lighthearted, that Lily had been devoted to Michael, that she had never seen any evidence of gold-digging behavior. Small victories, but victories nonetheless. Then Morrison's team made a mistake. They called a witness who claimed to be a friend of Lily's, someone who said Lily had bragged about landing a rich guy. Under Trish's cross-examination, the story fell apart. The woman admitted she had never actually been friends with Lily, had only met her once, had been paid by Morrison's team to provide testimony. The revelation shocked the courtroom. The judge was furious. Patricia Chen scrambled to distance herself from the planted witness, claiming she had relied on investigators who had clearly made errors. But the damage was done. The jury had seen Morrison's team willing to use fabricated testimony. When it was their turn, Trish called John to the stand. He testified about his grief after Catherine's death, about the 3 years of isolation, about hiring Lily and slowly coming back to life. He admitted the contract, admitted the payment, admitted it had started as a business arrangement. "But then I fell in love with her," John said simply. "It was not supposed to happen. But I cannot regret it. She gave me back my life." Patricia Chen's cross-examination was brutal. She went through every detail of the contract, every dollar paid, every inconsistency in the timeline. "Mr. Hartwell, is it not convenient that this love you claim to feel emerged right as your company was preparing for an IPO? The timing is what it is. Love does not wait for convenient moments. You expect this jury to believe you fell in love with your housekeeper in a matter of weeks? I expect them to understand that grief makes you numb for years, and then one day you meet someone who makes you feel again. And it happens fast because you have been starved for it." The testimony was powerful, but John could see skepticism on some jurors' faces. Lily took the stand next. She was nervous but honest. She explained her situation after Michael's death, the crushing debt, the desperation. Trish asked, "Did you target Jonathan Hartwell?" "No, I applied for a job. I needed work." "When did you fall in love with him?" "I cannot pinpoint a day. It was gradual, 1,000 small moments. The way he listened to Emma, the way he held Jack, the way he looked at me like I was more than just a burden. Do you love him for his money? I love him despite his money. Money complicates everything. It makes people suspicious. It makes simple things fraught. I would be happier if we had less money and fewer problems. Patricia Chen's cross-examination was vicious. She attacked Lily's every choice, every word, trying to make her seem calculating. But Lily held firm, and in her honesty, in her refusal to pretend to be something she was not, she won over some of the skeptical jurors. Then came Vanessa Morrison's testimony. The courtroom buzzed when she was called, the daughter testifying against her father's lawsuit. Vanessa walked to the stand with her head high. She swore to tell the truth, and then proceeded to dismantle her father's case. She testified about the marriage pressure, about her father's insistence that she marry John to merge the families, about John's consistent refusal. Then she went further. My father is not pursuing this lawsuit because he cares about corporate governance. He is pursuing it because he is angry. Angry that John chose his own path. Angry that I followed John's example. Patricia Chen objected, but the judge allowed Vanessa to continue. My father discovered I am in a relationship with a woman. He blames John's inappropriate marriage for encouraging me to live authentically. This lawsuit is punishment. It is control. It is my father's rage at losing his grip on the children he sees as assets rather than people. The courtroom erupted. James Morrison, sitting in the gallery, turned red with fury. The judge called for order. The revelation was seismic. It reframed the entire case. This was not about corporate ethics. It was personal vendetta. But the most powerful testimony came from Eleanor. She took the stand wearing an elegant suit, her white hair perfectly styled, every inch the Boston matriarch. Trish asked her, Mrs. Hartwell, did you approve of your son's relationship with Lillian Mitchell? At first, no. Why not? Because I am a controlling mother who thought she knew best, who wanted to dictate my son's life the way I wish someone had dictated mine. Can you explain? Eleanor took a breath. I had my son's first marriage arranged to Catherine. It was supposed to be a business merger between families, but Jonathan and Catherine fell in love anyway. They had 8 beautiful years before she got sick. She paused, emotion cracking through her composed exterior. When Catherine died, part of my son died too. I watched him become a shell. I tried to fix it by arranging another marriage. To Vanessa Morrison. I thought I could control his happiness. And then he met Lily. And I saw my son smile for the first time in 3 years. I saw him play with children. I saw him live again. So I had a choice. I could cling to my need for control, or I could embrace his happiness. What did you choose? I chose my son. Eleanor looked directly at the jury. I have been a widow for 40 years. I know what it is like to lose love. I know what it is like to have your life dictated by duty rather than desire. I will not condemn my son to the same fate. If Lily makes him happy, then I support them completely. The testimony was devastating in the best way. Eleanor Hartwell, society matriarch, defender of tradition, choosing love over propriety. The closing arguments framed the two narratives. Patricia Chen argued manipulation and poor judgment. Trish argued love and second chances. The jury deliberated for 2 days, the longest 2 days of John and Lily's lives. They waited at home, unable to eat or sleep, holding each other and trying not to imagine the worst. Finally, the call came, verdict reached, everyone back to court. They sat in the courtroom, holding hands, while the jury filed in. John tried to read their faces. Some looked sympathetic, others were unreadable. The 4 women stood. We, the jury, find in favor of the defendant, Jonathan Hartwell, on all counts. Relief crashed over them like a wave. Not guilty, no fraud, no stock manipulation, no poor judgment. Furthermore, the 4 women continued, we recommend sanctions against the Morrison Family Fund for bringing a frivolous lawsuit motivated by personal animus rather than legitimate corporate concern. The courtroom erupted in applause. The judge banged his gavel for order. John pulled Lily into his arms and held her like he would never let go. Outside the courthouse, they faced a different kind of crowd. Reporters, yes, but also supporters. People who had followed the story and came to celebrate the victory. John made a brief statement. Love won today, not because the jury believed a fairy tale, but because they recognized truth. Lily and I started this relationship unconventionally, but we built something real, something worth fighting for, and we will spend the rest of our lives honoring that." He looked at Lily. "I have one more thing to say. Lily Mitchell, will you marry me? Not because of a contract, not because of a lawsuit, not because anyone expects it, but because I love you and I want to spend my life with you." Lily laughed through tears. "We are already engaged. Then let us make it real, everything real. No more pretending, no more contracts, just us." "Yes," Lily said, 1,000 times yes. They kissed in front of the cameras, in front of the crowd, in front of the whole world. And for the first time since this began, neither of them was afraid. They had fought for their love in court and won. But the real victory was simpler. They had found each other. They had built a family. They had chosen love over fear. Everything else was just details. That night, after the celebration, after the phone calls and congratulations, after Emma and Jack were finally asleep, John and Lily sat in their library, their space, where this had all begun. "We should probably tear up the original contract," Lily said. John pulled it from his desk drawer, the document that had started everything. $100,000 for 1 year of pretend marriage. He tore it in half. "I have a new contract to propose," he said. "Oh?" John pulled out a ring, not the one from the fake engagement, a new one, simple and elegant and perfect. "Forever," he said. "No conditions, no expiration date, no exit strategy, just love." Lily looked at the ring, then at John, then at the torn contract on the floor. "I accept," she said. And when he slipped the ring on her finger, it felt like coming home. The judge's verdict had determined their legal future. But the real question remained: what would they become now that they were free to choose? The answer would unfold in the quiet moments between victory and celebration, in the space where contracts ended and real life began. 2 weeks after the trial, John woke to find the other side of the bed empty. Lily's pillow still held the impression of her head, but she was gone. He found her in the kitchen, already dressed, making coffee while simultaneously packing lunches for Emma, and trying to keep Jack from pulling everything out of the refrigerator. The scene was chaotic and beautiful. This was his life now, not the quiet solitude of grief, but the loud, messy reality of family. "Good morning," Lily said, looking up with a smile that still made his heart skip. "Sleep well?" "Better than I have in years." It was true. Since the trial ended, since the threat hanging over them had been lifted, John had slept through entire nights without waking, without the nightmares that had plagued him since Catherine's death, without the anxiety that had become his constant companion. Emma appeared, backpack already on, ready for school. No more suspensions, no more fights. The other children had mostly stopped their cruelty, especially after the trial made headlines and their parents realized the Hartwell family had powerful allies. "Ready for your math test?" John asked. Emma made a face. "Math is horrible, but I studied." "You will do great. Will you pick me up from school today?" The question was casual, but John heard the need beneath it. Emma still needed reassurance that he would be there, that the promises he had made were real. "I will be there," he promised. 3 o'clock. "We can stop for ice cream after." Emma hugged him quickly, then headed for the door where Maggie was waiting to walk her to the bus stop. Jack immediately demanded John's attention, pulling at his pants leg and babbling about something only he understood. John lifted the boy into his arms. The gesture that had been awkward months ago now felt natural. Jack settled against his chest with complete trust, sticky hands grabbing at John's tie. "You are destroying my wardrobe," John told him. Jack grinned, unrepentant. Lily watched them with soft eyes. "You are getting good at that." "At what?" "Being a dad." The word still felt momentous every time he heard it. Dad. Not stepfather or legal guardian or any other qualifier. Just dad. "I have good teachers," John said, looking at her. The moment hung between them, warm and intimate. Then Lily's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression shifted to excitement. "It is the caterer. For Vanessa's wedding, they confirmed." "Right. Vanessa and Charlotte's wedding. The event that would launch Lily's return to event planning. Her first official client since reopening her business." "When is the final walkthrough?" John asked. "Friday. I am terrified I will forget something." "You planned events for years. You will be brilliant." That was before Michael died. before I had to become someone else just to survive. John set Jack down and crossed to Lily. You did not become someone else. You just discovered how strong you already were. She leaned into him. Thank you for believing in me. Always. The Hartwell and Associates IPO had proceeded 3 weeks after the trial verdict, without the Morrison Fund's involvement, but with overwhelming support from other investors who had watched the trial and seen John's character on full display. The offering had been oversubscribed. The stock price had soared. John was now, on paper, worth considerably more than he had been before the lawsuit. The irony was not lost on him. Morrison's attempt to destroy him had instead proven his resilience, his integrity, his ability to lead under pressure. Robert met him at the office with champagne and a grin. We did it. Against all odds, we actually did it. We had help. An understatement. Eleanor's public support, Vanessa's testimony, the groundswell of employee and community backing, all of it had contributed to investor confidence. The board wants to throw you a celebration dinner, Robert said. Black tie, very fancy, very stuffy. Do I have to go? You are the CEO. Yes, you have to go. John sighed. Will there be speeches? Many speeches. All praising your vision and leadership, and probably your haircut. My haircut is fine. Robert laughed. Bring Lily. She made the last gala bearable. Plus, investors love her. She makes you seem human. I am human. Barely. You are mostly spreadsheets and anxiety. That night, John told Lily about the celebration dinner. She looked at the calendar and frowned. That is the same night as Emma's school play. She is a tree in the spring pageant. How important is this dinner? Very. It is basically the board officially celebrating the IPO success. And how important is Emma's play? Also very. They looked at each other. The calculus of modern parenting playing out in real time. Big career moment versus small child's need to see her parents in the audience. You go to the dinner, Lily said. I will go to the play. No, John was certain. I am not missing Emma's play. I promised I would be there. The board can celebrate without me for an hour. I will arrive late. Robert will kill you. Robert will understand. And if he does not, he can find a new CEO. Lily smiled. You have changed. For the better, I hope. Definitely for the better. The spring pageant was exactly as awkward as every elementary school production. Children in hastily made costumes, forgotten lines, one kid who cried the entire time. Emma stood on stage as a tree, wearing brown and green construction paper, her arms held out as branches. John sat in the audience next to Lily, squeezed into a tiny chair meant for someone half his size, and felt his heart swell with pride. This was his daughter, this brave, brilliant girl who had defended her mother with her fists and her words, who had written a letter to a judge, who stood on stage as a tree and took it completely seriously. When the play ended and Emma took her bow, John applauded louder than anyone. Emma spotted them in the crowd and her face lit up with pure joy. After, when Emma ran to them still wearing her tree costume, John swept her into a hug. You were amazing. I was a tree. Trees do not do anything. You were the best tree I've ever seen. Emma rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. Did you really skip your fancy dinner for this? Nothing is more important than you. The words seemed to settle something in Emma, some final fear that she had been carrying. She hugged him tighter. I love you, Dad. John's throat closed. He had heard her say it before, but it never stopped affecting him. I love you too, sweetheart. Later at the celebration dinner, John arrived 2 hours late and gave a speech about priorities, about how success meant nothing if you did not have people to share it with, about how he had learned that family came first. Always. The board gave him a standing ovation. Vanessa and Charlotte's wedding consumed Lily's attention for 3 weeks. She threw herself into planning with the intensity of someone proving something to herself, that she could still do this work, that she was still the person she had been before grief and debt had forced her into survival mode. John watched her transformation with quiet amazement. She met with vendors, negotiated contracts, solved logistical nightmares with calm efficiency. This was who she had been, he realized, before life had broken her and forced her to rebuild. The wedding would be at a private estate in Concord overlooking a lake, small and intimate, just 60 guests. Vanessa wanted elegant simplicity, no society spectacle, just love celebrated by people who mattered. John helped where he could. He used his connections to secure vendors on short notice. He wrote checks when Lily's new business account could not cover deposits. He watched Emma and Jack when Lily had to work evenings. One night he found her crying in the library. Plans spread across the desk, her phone in her hand. "What is wrong?" he asked. "Nothing. Everything." "I do not know." She wiped at her tears. "Michael and I used to plan events together. He would help me with the logistics. I did not realize how much I would miss that until now." John sat beside her. "Tell me what you need." "It is not the same." "No, but I am here anyway." Lily looked at the plans, then at John. "Can you read through this timeline and tell me if anything seems off?" For the next 2 hours, they went through every detail. John asked questions, caught potential conflicts, suggested solutions. He was not Michael, but he was present. And sometimes, Lily realized, that was enough. The morning of the wedding, Lily was a bundle of nervous energy. She had been on site since 5 a.m., directing setup, checking flowers, ensuring every detail was perfect. John arrived at noon with Emma and Jack. They were guests, but they were also support. Emma wore a pale blue dress and helped arrange favor boxes. Jack toddled around getting into everything until Maggie corralled him. At 2 o'clock, guests began arriving. John saw Charlotte first, looking radiant in an ivory suit, her smile nervous and excited. Then Vanessa, elegant in a flowing white dress, her hand clasped in her mother's. Constance Morrison had shocked everyone by attending, by publicly supporting her daughter. Her husband James had refused to come, had threatened to disown Vanessa. But Constance had made her choice. The ceremony was on a terrace overlooking the water. Simple chairs, wildflower arrangements, a string quartet playing softly. Vanessa and Charlotte stood before a justice of the peace and spoke vows they had written themselves. 15 years we waited, Vanessa said, her voice shaking. 15 years we hid. 15 years we pretended to be less than we were. Today we stop hiding. Today we choose love. Today we choose us. Charlotte's vows were equally moving. You were worth the wait, worth the fear, worth every difficult conversation and painful choice. I would wait another 15 years if I had to, but I am grateful I do not have to anymore. When they kissed, the applause was thunderous. John looked around at the guests. Eleanor was crying openly. Trish was beaming. Even some of the old society matrons who had probably never attended a same-sex wedding looked moved. After the ceremony, during the reception, Vanessa pulled Lily aside. "Thank you for everything. This is perfect." "I am glad you deserve perfect." Vanessa looked at Charlotte, dancing with her mother, both of them laughing. "I never thought I would have this. A real wedding, real acceptance. I thought I would hide forever." "What changed?" "Watching you and John fight. Watching you refuse to apologize for loving each other. It made me realize I was done apologizing too." Lily felt tears prick her eyes. "I am honored to have helped." "You did more than help. You showed me what courage looks like." Later, John found Lily checking on the catering setup. She was in full event planner mode, directing staff, adjusting centerpieces, ensuring everything flowed smoothly. "You are in your element," he observed. "I forgot how much I loved this, creating something beautiful, making people's dreams come true. You are good at it." Lily looked around at the reception, at Vanessa and Charlotte surrounded by loved ones, at the flowers and lights and carefully curated beauty. "I want to do this full time again, build the business back up." "Then do it. It will mean less time at home, more evening and weekend work. Emma and Jack and I will manage." John stepped closer. "I want you to have everything you want. Career, family, all of it. You do not have to choose." Most men would want their wives to focus on home. I am not most men, and you are not most women. The reception went perfectly. Every timeline hit, every detail executed. When Vanessa and Charlotte left in a shower of flower petals, Lily finally allowed herself to relax. "You did it," John said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "We did it," she corrected. That night, after Emma and Jack were asleep, after Lily had finally come down from the adrenaline high of a successful event, they sat in the library with glasses of wine. "I have been thinking," Lily said. "Dangerous." She smiled. "We should talk about us, about what we are. We are together." "But what does that mean?" "We are still technically in a contract marriage. We never actually got engaged for real. We have been so focused on the trial and recovery that we have not defined this." John set down his wine. "What do you want this to be?" "I want it to be real. All the way real. Not a contract that became something else. Just real." "Then let us make it real." John had been thinking about this for weeks. Let me court you properly, like I should have from the beginning. We are already living together, already raising children together, so we do it backwards. I will date you while being married to you, romance you, woo you properly, and then at the end you decide, renew our vows for real or walk away free. Walk away? Lily looked shocked. Why would I walk away? Because you should have the choice. Because you accepted a contract when you were desperate. I want you to choose me when you are not desperate. When you have options. When you know your own worth. Lily's eyes filled with tears. You really mean that? Every word. What if I choose to stay? Then I will be the luckiest man alive. They sat in silence for a moment, letting the weight of the decision settle. Okay, Lily finally said. Court me. Show me what I missed the first time around. Over the next weeks, John courted his own wife. He arranged dates, just the two of them, while Maggie or Eleanor watched the children. Dinners at quiet restaurants, walks through the public garden, a weekend trip to Cape Cod where they stayed in a cottage by the ocean and talked for hours about dreams and fears and everything they wanted from life. He learned things about Lily he had never known. That she loved old movies, but only happy ones, because life provided enough tragedy. That she had wanted to be a nurse specifically to help people the way nurses had helped Michael during his illness. That she sang in the car when she thought no one was listening. She learned things about him too. That he had wanted to be an architect before his father died, and duty demanded he take over the family business. That he collected first editions of classic literature, but had never told anyone because it felt too sentimental. That he was terrified of being a bad father, but more terrified of not trying. They fell in love again, or maybe for the first time, without the weight of contracts and lawsuits and desperation driving them. One night, 3 months into their courtship while married, John took Lily to the same terrace where Vanessa and Charlotte had married. He had rented the space, filled it with candles and flowers. What is this? Lily asked, looking around in wonder. John got down on one knee. The real thing this time, not a business proposition, not a solution to a problem, just a question. Lillian Mitchell, he began. You came into my life when I was a ghost. You brought color and noise and chaos and joy. You gave me a family. You gave me a reason to wake up in the morning. You gave me back my life. He pulled out a ring, not the one from the contract engagement, a new one, simple and elegant and chosen specifically for her. I am not asking you because I need you to solve a problem. I am asking because I love you, because I want to build a life with you, because I choose you every day forever. Will you marry me, really marry me? Lily was crying, smiling, nodding all at once. Yes, 1,000 times yes. I choose you too. He slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. They kissed under the stars, on the terrace where their friends had celebrated love, and it felt like coming home. But there was one more surprise coming. A surprise even Lily had not anticipated. It started with the nausea. Lily assumed it was stress from launching her business. She had taken on 3 new clients and was working long hours to prove herself. Morning sickness from stress was a thing, she told herself. But then there was the exhaustion, the tender breasts, the emotional volatility that had her crying over a commercial about puppies. Rachel noticed first. You are pregnant. I am not, Lily said automatically. Have you taken a test? I am 40, almost 41. The chances are not 0. Take a test. Lily bought 3 tests, all positive. She sat in the bathroom of the brownstone, staring at the results, her mind reeling. She had not thought about more children. Emma was 10, Jack was 2. She was building a business. John had never mentioned wanting kids, though she knew he and Catherine had tried for years unsuccessfully. What if he did not want this? What if it was too much? She hid the tests and tried to figure out how to tell him. Rehearsed speeches in her head. Worried herself into exhaustion. Finally, Rachel cornered her. You have to tell him. I am terrified. Of what? Of everything. What if he does not want another child? What if this ruins everything we have built? Or what if he is thrilled? You will not know until you tell him. On a Sunday morning, after Emma had gone to a friend's house and Jack was napping, Lily found John in his study working on investor reports. She stood in the doorway, gathering courage. Can we talk? John looked up, saw her expression, and immediately set aside his work. What is wrong? Nothing is wrong, maybe. I do not know. Lily, you are scaring me. She crossed the room and sat beside him, took a deep breath. I am pregnant. The words hung in the air. John stared at her, his expression unreadable. Silence stretched. Lily felt panic rising. I know we did not plan this. I know it is complicated timing with the business and everything. I know you and Catherine tried for years, and it did not happen. And maybe you have moved past wanting children, but I am pregnant and I do not know what to do with that information. And if you do not want, John cut her off with a kiss. When he pulled back, he was crying. You are pregnant? He asked, his voice breaking. Yes. We are having a baby? Yes. His face split into the widest smile she had ever seen. He picked her up and spun her around, laughing and crying at the same time. We are having a baby. He set her down gently. You are sure? 3 positive tests. John dropped to his knees and pressed his hands against her still flat stomach. Hi, baby. I am your dad. I already love you so much. Lily started crying too. You are happy? Happy? John looked up at her, tears streaming down his face. Catherine and I tried for 8 years. 8 years of hope and disappointment and medical interventions that never worked. I thought I would never be a father. Then I got Emma and Jack, and that felt like a miracle. But this, a baby, our baby. This is beyond anything I ever dreamed. He stood and pulled her into his arms. This is a gift. You are a gift. All of this is a gift. They held each other, crying happy tears, the enormity of it sinking in. I love you, Lily whispered. I love you too, both of you. That evening, they told Emma and Jack. Emma's reaction was immediate excitement. A baby? Really? I am going to be a big sister again? You are, Lily confirmed. Emma hugged her mother fiercely. This is the best day ever. Jack did not fully understand but sensed the excitement and clapped his hands. Baby, he shouted, his new favorite word. Later, after the children were in bed, John pulled Lily back to the library. I have been thinking. About how I proposed on that terrace. About how I asked you to marry me, really marry me. But we are already married, so that does not quite work. So what are you proposing? That we renew our vows, have a real wedding, in front of everyone, make it official in every way that matters. We are already married, Lily said again. We had a courthouse wedding for the contract. I want a real wedding, one where we mean every word, where we celebrate this family we have built, where we stand up in front of God and everyone and promise forever. Lily thought about it. A real wedding. After everything they had been through, after the contract and the trial and the fighting and the choosing. Okay, she said. Let us have a real wedding. When should we do it? Soon, before I start showing. I want to fit into a pretty dress without maternity panels. John laughed. I will marry you in sweatpants. I do not care what you wear. I care. And this is my wedding. I get to be vain. Fair enough. They began planning immediately. Not a society spectacle like Eleanor would have preferred, but an intimate celebration. 60 people who mattered, family and friends who had supported them. The venue would be this brownstone garden, where Emma and Jack played, where Lily had planted flowers, where their family had grown. Trish would be matron of honor. Emma would be flower girl. Jack would be ring bearer with significant supervision. Eleanor would walk John down the aisle, a reversal of tradition but fitting for a man whose mother had become his ally. And Lily would walk alone because she was choosing this of her own free will, with no one giving her away because she belonged to herself. They set the date for 8 weeks out. Enough time to plan, but not so long that Lily would be obviously pregnant. Just their secret for now, their private joy. Eleanor, when told about the wedding, cried with happiness. Finally, a real wedding. One celebrated with joy instead of obligation. Vanessa and Charlotte offered to help plan. Lily accepted gratefully. Her first clients now becoming her friends, helping her celebrate the love she had helped them celebrate. Rachel took charge of the bachelorette party, which Lily insisted should be low-key. No strippers, no wild night out. Just dinner with friends and wine and laughter. John's bachelor party was equally tame. Dinner with Robert and David and a few close colleagues. They told stories, toasted the future, celebrated the man John had become. The night before the wedding, John stayed at Eleanor's house. Tradition. Even if they were already married and living together and expecting a child. He could not sleep. Lay awake thinking about the journey that had brought him here. From grief and isolation to love and family. From empty house to full heart. Catherine would have liked Lily, he thought, would have approved of the chaos and joy, would have been happy he had found someone to build a life with. He said a quiet prayer to his late wife, thanking her for the years they had, asking for her blessing on this new beginning. And he felt, in the quiet of that room, a sense of peace, as if Catherine was telling him to be happy, to live fully, to honor her memory by choosing joy. Morning came bright and clear, a perfect May day, warm but not hot, with a gentle breeze that smelled like flowers. John dressed in his study at Eleanor's house. Trish helped him with his tie, her eyes misty. "You look happy," she said. "I am. Catherine would be proud of you." "I hope so." "She would. You honored her by loving her completely. Now you get to honor Lily the same way. That is not betrayal. That is living." John hugged his sister. "Thank you. For everything. For the legal help and the support and the faith in me when I did not have faith in myself." That is what family does. At the brownstone, Lily was getting ready in her room. The room that had been hers alone, that would soon become theirs fully. No more separate bedrooms, no more contract marriage. Just real life. Rachel helped her into her dress. Simple and elegant, cream-colored silk that flowed over her body and hid the small bump that was just beginning to show. "You look beautiful," Rachel said. "I look terrified." "You look like a woman who knows what she wants and is brave enough to claim it." Lily looked at herself in the mirror. This was really happening. After everything, she was getting her real wedding. Emma appeared in the doorway, wearing a pale pink dress and holding a basket of flower petals. "Mom, you look like a princess." "Thank you, sweetheart. Are you nervous?" "Very." "Do not be. Dad loves you. We all love you. This is going to be perfect." The simple confidence of a 10-year-old. Lily hugged her daughter. "When did you get so wise?" "I have good teachers." The ceremony was at 4 o'clock. As the time approached, Lily could hear guests arriving, voices in the garden, music starting to play. Maggie came to tell her it was time. Lily took a deep breath. Rachel straightened her dress. Emma grabbed her flower basket. "Ready?" Rachel asked. "As I will ever be." They walked down the stairs together, through the house that had become home, past the library where so many late-night conversations had happened, through the kitchen where chaotic mornings had become routine. At the garden door, Lily paused. Through the glass, she could see John waiting at the altar Vanessa had helped design, could see Emma walking down the aisle scattering petals, could see Jack toddling after her, Maggie close behind to prevent disaster. Then it was her turn. She stepped into the garden alone, walking toward John, toward their future, toward the life they had chosen together. John saw her and his face transformed, pure love, pure joy, pure certainty. She walked down the aisle, past Eleanor who was crying, past Trish who was beaming, past Robert and David and all the people who had believed in them. And when she reached John, when he took her hands, when they stood together in the garden of their home, with their children beside them and their friends surrounding them, Lily felt something click into place. This was real, this was chosen, this was forever. The judge who had presided over their trial, the same Judge Morrison who had seen their story unfold in court, now stood before them to officiate their vows. "We gather to celebrate love," she began. "Not love that came easily, but love that was fought for, tested, proven real in the fires of doubt and adversity." She looked at John and Lily. "You have already been through more than most couples face in a lifetime. You have been challenged and questioned and forced to defend what you feel, and you have emerged stronger." Now she smiled. "So let us celebrate that strength. Let us honor that choice. Let us witness these vows, given freely and joyfully." John spoke first. His vows were simple but devastating. "Lily, when I hired you as my housekeeper, I thought I was hiring help. I did not know I was inviting transformation. I did not know you would take my empty house and fill it with life, my empty heart and fill it with love." His voice caught. "I promised you 1 year. Today, I promise forever. Not because a contract demands it, but because I cannot imagine a single day without you. I vow to be your partner in all things, to support your dreams, to share your burdens, to celebrate your victories, to love Emma and Jack as my own, to be the father our baby deserves. I vow to choose you every day in every way for the rest of my life." Lily's turn. She had written and rewritten her vows a dozen times, but standing there, looking at John, she spoke from her heart. John, I came to your house carrying grief and debt and fear. You welcomed all of me. You did not just accept my past. You honored it. You did not just tolerate my children, you loved them. She was crying now. You taught me that love is not a contract we sign once and forget. It is a choice we make every day, a promise we keep even when it is hard, a commitment we honor even when we are scared. Today I choose you, not because you saved me, though you did, not because you provide for us, though you do, but because you see me, the real me, and you love her anyway. I promise to be your partner, your equal, your home. I promise to build this life with you, brick by brick, day by day. I promise to love you in the chaos and in the quiet, in sickness and health, for richer or poorer, for better or worse. I promise forever. The ring exchange was next, new rings for both of them. John's inscription read, "You are my life." Lily's read, "You are my home." When the judge pronounced them husband and wife again, but really this time, the garden erupted in applause. John kissed Lily like he had been waiting his entire life for this moment. And maybe he had been. When they pulled apart, Emma and Jack joined them. A family hug, all four of them, soon to be 5. The baby kicked, Lily gasped. John felt it too. "Our baby just blessed our wedding," he whispered. Lily laughed through tears. Perfect timing. The reception was everything they had wanted, simple and joyful, no society pretension, just love celebrated by people who mattered. They danced their first dance to the same song that had played at their engagement party, the one where they had first felt the spark. But this time there was no pretending, just two people in love, holding each other, promising forever. Eleanor gave a toast that had the entire garden in tears. Vanessa and Charlotte danced together, their love now celebrated as openly as John and Lily's. Emma caught the bouquet and declared she would never get married because boys were gross. Jack ate cake with his entire face. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely perfect. As the sun set and the garden filled with candlelight, John pulled Lily aside. "So, Mrs. Hartwell, how does it feel to be really married?" "Exactly the same and completely different." "Good different?" "The best different." They stood together in the garden, surrounded by family and friends, with their children playing nearby and their baby growing inside Lily, and everything felt exactly right. The contract marriage that was supposed to last 1 year had transformed into a love that would last forever. And this time there was no fine print, no exit clause, no expiration date. Just love, real chosen forever love. That was the only contract they needed. They had proven their love in court and celebrated it in their garden. Now came the sweetest challenge of all, building the everyday life they had fought so hard to claim. The best stories, John was learning, were not about the dramatic moments, but about the quiet ones that followed. The vow renewal had been on a Saturday in May. By Monday morning, life returned to its beautiful chaos. Emma needed help with a science project. Jack had discovered he could climb onto the kitchen counters. Lily had 3 client meetings scheduled, and John had a board meeting where he would present quarterly results that exceeded all projections. But first, breakfast. Always breakfast, the ritual that had become the foundation of their day. John found Lily in the kitchen, one hand on her growing belly, the other attempting to pour juice while simultaneously preventing Jack from eating dog food. They did not have a dog. Jack had found the neighbor's dog food somehow. "How is that even possible?" John asked, taking the dog food away from his protesting son. "I stopped asking how. I just prevent and redirect now." Emma appeared, already dressed, her science poster board under her arm. "Dad, I need you to sign my permission slip for the field trip." The word dad still made his heart skip. "Where are you going?" "The Science Museum. We need chaperones. Can you come?" John thought about his schedule. The board meeting was important, but so was this. "What day?" "Next Friday. I will be there." Emma's face lit up. "Really?" "Really." She hugged him quickly, then bounded off to catch the school bus. Jack immediately took advantage of John's distraction to grab a fistful of scrambled eggs and smear them in his hair. Lily laughed, the sound tired but genuine. "Welcome to parenthood, the real version. I would not trade it for anything. Even when there are eggs in places eggs should not be, especially then." The pregnancy progressed beautifully. Lily glowed with health, Her business thrived despite her growing belly, and John found himself constantly amazed by her strength. She worked full days, came home to Emma and Jack, planned events and managed clients, and did it all while growing a human being. At the 20-week ultrasound, they learned they were having a girl. John cried when he saw her on the screen, this tiny, perfect person who was half him and half Lily. "A daughter," he whispered. The technician smiled. "A healthy daughter. Everything looks perfect." They told Emma and Jack that evening. Emma was ecstatic. "A sister. I am going to teach her everything." Jack was less clear on the concept, but enjoyed the excitement. "Baby sister," he shouted, patting Lily's belly enthusiastically. That night, in bed, John rested his hand on Lily's stomach and felt the baby kick. "She is strong," Lily said, "like her big sister, like her mother. I am terrified, of doing this again, of newborn nights and exhaustion and all of it. You will not be doing it alone this time." That is the difference. With Emma and Jack, I was alone. This time I have you. You will always have me. The baby kicked again, as if in agreement. Eleanor threw Lily a baby shower at her estate in June. It was a garden party, elegant but warm, attended by the women who had become Lily's unlikely circle. Society matrons who had initially judged her now brought gifts and advice. Trish and Rachel co-hosted. Vanessa and Charlotte came bearing an enormous stuffed elephant. But the most surprising guest was Constance Morrison, Vanessa's mother. She arrived with a beautifully wrapped gift and a nervous smile. "I hope it is all right that I came," she said to Lily. "Vanessa said you would not mind, but I know my husband caused you terrible pain." "You are not your husband," Lily said warmly. "You are welcome here." Constance's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you for helping my daughter find her courage, for showing me that love matters more than appearances." The shower was filled with laughter and stories. Eleanor shared tales of raising John, including the time he tried to run away from home at age 7 and made it to the end of the driveway before turning back. Trish told embarrassing stories about John's teenage years. Rachel reminded everyone of Lily's college days, when she thought she would save the world one patient at a time. The gifts were generous. A crib from Eleanor, a stroller from Trish, books from Emma, who had carefully selected titles about brave girls and strong women. Jack contributed a stuffed bear that he immediately tried to reclaim. But the most meaningful gift came from Vanessa. She stood and cleared her throat. "I want to say something." Vanessa looked around at the gathered women. "A year ago, I was living a lie, hiding who I was because I was afraid. Then I watched John and Lily fight for their love. I watched them refuse to apologize for choosing each other, and it gave me the courage to stop hiding." She reached for Charlotte's hand. "Because of them, I get to live authentically. I get to love openly. I get to be happy. So my gift is not a thing, it is a promise. Your daughter will grow up in a world where my wife and I can exist without shame, where love in all its forms is celebrated, where courage is rewarded. That is the world you helped create." There was not a dry eye in the garden. Later, as Lily was opening gifts, Emma approached with a small wrapped box. "This is from me and Jack." Well, mostly me. Jack helped with the wrapping. The wrapping was indeed chaotic, covered in too much tape and crooked folds. Lily opened it to find a silver bracelet with 3 charms, a heart, a star, and a tiny pair of baby feet. "The heart is for love," Emma explained seriously. "The star is for wishes, and the baby feet are because you are going to be the best mom to our sister." Lily pulled Emma into a hug and cried happy tears. "You already are the best big sister." "I practiced on Jack. He survived, so I am ready." The laughter that followed was warm and genuine. This was family. Not the family Lily had been born into, but the one she had built through trial and love and choosing each other every day. As summer arrived, Lily's business reached a turning point. She had more client requests than she could handle alone. The choice was clear: expand or stay small. She chose to expand, hired an assistant, a recent graduate named Sophie, who reminded Lily of herself at that age. Eager, talented, desperate to prove herself. Lily mentored her carefully, teaching not just the logistics of event planning, but the heart of it. How to listen to what clients really wanted, how to solve problems creatively, how to make people's dreams come true within their budgets. John watched Lily build her empire with quiet pride. She was not just surviving anymore, she was thriving, creating something meaningful, proving that the dream she had set aside could be reclaimed. One evening, 7 months pregnant and exhausted from a day of client meetings, Lily collapsed on the couch next to John. "I am building something real," she said, "something that is mine." I know, it is incredible to watch. Michael would be proud. She had not mentioned her late husband in months, but now, carrying another man's child, she needed to acknowledge him. "He always believed I could do this." I am sure he did, and I am sure he would be happy you found your way back to it. Do you ever feel guilty about Catherine? John considered the question. Sometimes, but not in the way you might think. I do not feel guilty for loving you. I feel grateful that I got to love her. And now I get to love you. The heart is bigger than we think. Emma told me something similar, about having room for two dads. Smart kid. She gets it from her mother. As Lily's due date approached, John found himself increasingly anxious. He had not been present for Emma or Jack's births. This would be his first time watching a child come into the world, his child. The responsibility felt enormous. Trish, sensing his nerves, took him for coffee. "You are going to be fine. What if I'm not? What if I panic or faint or mess something up? Then you will be like every other first-time father in history." Trish smiled. "John, you have already proven you can handle fatherhood. You are raising Emma and Jack beautifully." "That is different. They came to me talking and walking and mostly house-trained. And this one will come to you as a blank slate, a chance to be there from the very beginning. That is a gift, John. Do not let fear ruin it." "You are right, as always." "I know, it is exhausting being right all the time." The call came at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday in early September. John woke to Lily shaking his shoulder. "It is time." "What?" "The baby. It is time." John shot out of bed, instantly alert and completely panicked. Okay, what do we do?" "You get dressed. I call the hospital. We wake Maggie to stay with Emma and Jack. We go have a baby." "Right, yes, that is the plan." "John, you are putting your pants on backward." He looked down. She was right. He started over. The drive to the hospital was surreal. Early morning darkness, empty streets, Lily timing contractions while John gripped the steering wheel and tried not to speed. Every bump made him wince. Every red light felt like an eternity. At the hospital, they were whisked into a delivery room. Nurses attached monitors, checked vitals, asked questions. Lily labored with the same determination she brought to everything else. Focused, strong, occasionally swearing at John in ways that would have been funny if he were not terrified. Hours passed. Morning came. The doctor arrived and examined Lily. "You are doing great," the doctor said. "Almost there." "Almost where?" Lily asked through gritted teeth. "Almost ready to push." John held Lily's hand through it all, let her squeeze until his fingers went numb, whispered encouragement, wiped her forehead, tried not to faint when things got intense. And then, after 14 hours of labor, their daughter entered the world. The cry was loud and furious. The doctor placed the baby on Lily's chest, a tiny, angry bundle covered in vernix and utterly perfect. John stared at this small person, his daughter, and felt his world reorganize around her. "She is perfect," he whispered. Lily was crying, laughing, holding their daughter with trembling hands. "Hi, baby girl. We have been waiting for you." The nurse asked, "Do we have a name?" John and Lily looked at each other. They had discussed names for months, but never quite decided. "Catherine," Lily said. "Catherine Rose Hartwell." John's breath caught. "You want to name her after my late wife? She was part of your story, part of what made you the man I love." "Anne Rose for my grandmother, who raised me. Our daughter carries the love of the women who shaped us." John kissed Lily's forehead, then gently touched his daughter's tiny hand. "Welcome, Catherine Rose. We love you so much." Baby Kate, as Emma immediately dubbed her, fit into their family like she had always been there. Emma was devoted, constantly holding her baby sister, singing to her, helping with diaper changes. Jack was fascinated and slightly jealous, requiring extra attention to adjust to no longer being the baby. The first weeks were exhausting. Sleepless nights, endless feedings, the particular chaos of a newborn in the house. But John and Lily navigated it together. When Lily was too tired to function, John took the baby. When John had to work, Lily managed. They tag-teamed, supported each other, survived on coffee and love. Maggie was invaluable, watching Emma and Jack, cooking meals, keeping the household running while John and Lily focused on the baby. Eleanor visited often, holding Kate with tears in her eyes. She has Jonathan's nose. And your smile, Lily. She is perfect, just like her mother. The bond between Eleanor and Lily had transformed completely, from adversaries to allies to something like mother and daughter. Eleanor had lost her husband young and raised her children alone. Lily had lost her husband young too. They understood each other in ways that transcended social class or background. One afternoon, while Kate napped and Emma was at school and Jack was with Maggie, Eleanor and Lily had tea in the library. "I owe you an apology," Eleanor said, "a real one." "You have apologized." "No, I have expressed regret. But I need to actually apologize for investigating you, for trying to control Jonathan, for making you feel less than. I was wrong about all of it." Lily reached across and took Eleanor's hand. "You were protecting your son. I understand that. I was protecting my need for control. There is a difference." Eleanor's voice was thick with emotion. "When my husband died, I was 35 with 2 children and a company to run. I survived by controlling everything I could, and I could not stop, even when my children grew up, even when control was hurting them." "You let go. That takes courage." "You made me let go. You and Jonathan, fighting for your love, showed me that some things cannot be controlled, should not be controlled, and that is okay." They sat in comfortable silence, two widows who had found their way through grief to something like peace. When Kate was 3 months old, Lily returned to work part-time. Sophie had proven herself capable, handling clients with skill and creativity. The business had not just survived Lily's maternity leave, but thrived. Lily's first event back was a golden anniversary party for a couple who had been married 50 years. As she planned it, Lily thought about long love, about commitment that lasted decades, about building a life day by day, year by year. She thought about John, about Emma and Jack and Kate, about the family they were creating. And she thought, this is just the beginning. We have decades ahead of us. Decades of chaotic mornings and quiet evenings, of milestones and ordinary moments, of choosing each other every single day. The thought was beautiful and overwhelming and perfect. On Kate's first birthday, they threw a party in the brownstone garden. Family and close friends gathered to celebrate. Emma, now 11, helped organize games. Jack, now 3, mostly caused mayhem. Kate sat in a high chair, gleefully smashing cake into her face while everyone laughed and took photos. John watched his family, his home full of noise and joy, and thought about the journey that had brought him here. From the empty grief of widowhood to the full chaos of family life, from isolation to connection, from merely existing to truly living. Lily found him standing apart, observing the celebration. "You okay?" "Perfect. Just taking it all in." "It is a lot. It is everything." She leaned against him and they watched together. Emma showing Kate how to clap, Jack stealing frosting from the cake, Eleanor laughing at something Trish said, Maggie fussing over everyone, Vanessa and Charlotte holding hands, Rachel flirting with Robert, who had become a regular presence at family gatherings. A year ago, the brownstone had been quiet. Now it was alive. "This is what I wanted," John said. "When Catherine was sick, when we knew she was dying, she made me promise something." "What?" "That I would not give up on life, that I would find love again if I could, that I would fill this house with family. She wanted that for me even if she could not be here to see it." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "She would be happy for you." "For us," John corrected. "She would love you, would love that you made me happy, would adore Emma and Jack and Kate." I wish I could have known her. "Part of you does. You know me. And she shaped me, so in a way you know each other through me." It was a beautiful thought, the idea that love could transcend even death, that the people who shaped them remained part of their story even in absence. That night, after the party ended and the children were in bed, John and Lily sat in their library, their space, where contracts had been signed and love had been discovered and life had been rebuilt. Lily produced a document from her desk drawer, the original contract, the one John had torn up after the trial. She had taped it back together and saved it. "Why did you keep this?" John asked. "Because it brought us together. Yes, what we became was real. But this is where we started. I did not want to forget that." She held it up, a year for $100,000. Professional arrangement. no emotional involvement. They both laughed at the absurdity of that last clause. No emotional involvement, as if love could be controlled by contractual terms. Lily tore the contract in half again, then quarters, then smaller pieces. She dropped them into the fireplace, and John lit the fire. They watched it burn, the ashes of a business arrangement drifting up and away. Now it is really over, Lily said. The contract, the arrangement, all of it. And what do we have instead? This. She gestured around the library, the house, the life they had built. Family, love, home. Is it enough? It is everything. John pulled her close. They sat together in the fireplace light, watching the last remnants of their contract marriage turn to ash, while the real marriage, the one built on choice and love and daily commitment, burned bright and warm around them. 1 year later, on a crisp October morning, the Hartwell family gathered in the brownstone garden for a photo. Professional pictures for the annual holiday card, though getting 4 people, 2 adults, 3 children, and 1 very opinionated toddler to all look at the camera simultaneously was proving impossible. Emma, now 12, stood tall and serious, the responsible oldest child. Jack, 4, could not stop moving. Kate, almost 2, kept trying to eat the leaves the photographer had artfully arranged. "Just one good shot," the photographer pleaded. "That is all I need." Lily adjusted Kate's dress for the 10th time. John bribed Jack with promises of ice cream. Emma sighed with the long-suffering patience of a preteen. Finally, miraculously, they all looked at the camera at the same time. The photographer captured it. John and Lily in the center, Emma and Jack on one side, Kate on the other, a family, real and messy and perfect. After the photographer left, they walked through the brownstone together. 5 people now, where there had once been only 1. Emma showed them a story she had written for school about blended families. Jack demonstrated his new ability to count to 20, though he skipped 13 every time. Kate toddled after everyone, her new favorite word a emphatic mine that she applied to everything. Lily's business had expanded to 3 employees. She had a waiting list of clients and was turning away work. Success beyond what she had imagined when she first reopened the business. John's company had just been named one of Boston's best places to work. The IPO success had led to expansion, new offices, industry recognition. But he left the office at 5 every day without exception. Family dinners were sacred. Weekend soccer games non-negotiable. He had learned what mattered. That evening, after the children were in bed, John found Lily in the nursery. Kate was asleep in the crib that had once been stored unused, the room that had been painted yellow with hope, and then closed for years in grief. Now it was alive again, pink walls, stuffed animals, a nightlight shaped like stars. "Hard to believe this room sat empty for so long," Lily said softly. "Everything finds its purpose eventually." John wrapped his arms around her from behind. This room was waiting for Kate. "Do you ever think about how we started?" "Every day. A desperate widower and a struggling single mother making an impossible arrangement. Sounds like the beginning of a bad romance novel. Or a great love story." Lily turned in his arms to face him. "Do you have any regrets?" "Not one. You?" "Only that we did not meet sooner. We met exactly when we needed to. Any sooner, and I would not have been ready. Any later, and you might have been too far into survival mode to take a chance on me. So we found each other at exactly the right wrong time." John kissed her. The same rightness he had felt that first kiss in practice, that first real kiss after the press conference, every kiss since, the sense of coming home. They stood in the nursery, watching their daughter sleep, and thought about the journey that had brought them here. Contract to court to commitment, fear to faith to family. Tomorrow would bring new chaos. Emma had a field trip, Jack had a doctor's appointment, Kate had a play date. Lily had 2 client meetings, John had a board presentation. Life would be loud and messy and complicated. But tonight, in this moment, everything was quiet and perfect and exactly where it should be. John led Lily from the nursery, checking on Emma and Jack as they passed. Both sleeping peacefully, both theirs through choice and love if not biology. Both completely and utterly family. In their bedroom, the one they shared now without contracts or separate spaces, they got ready for bed. The routine of long-married couples, comfortable and familiar. "I love you," Lily said as she turned out the light. "I love you too. Forever." Forever had started as a business term. 1 year, limited engagement, defined end date. Now it meant something else entirely. every morning choosing each other, every evening coming home, every challenge faced together, every joy shared. The contract marriage that was never supposed to be real had become the realest thing in both their lives. And in the quiet darkness of their bedroom, in the house that had been a mausoleum and become a home, John and Lily fell asleep holding hands. Partners, best friends, parents, lovers. The brownstone around them settled into nighttime silence, but it was not the hollow silence of before. It was the full silence of a house holding precious cargo, dreams and memories, hope and history, sleeping children and resting parents. All the pieces of a life well lived. Outside, Boston glittered under stars. Inside, the Hartwell family slept in peace. The contract had been 1 year for $100,000, a desperate solution to separate problems. A business arrangement with strict terms and a clear expiration date. But what they had built went beyond any contract, beyond any sum of money, beyond any timeline. They had built a family, a real one, messy and loud and complicated and absolutely perfect. Emma would grow up and write stories. Jack would become an architect like John had once dreamed of being. Kate would study medicine like Lily had wanted to before life intervened. Their children would carry forward their dreams, their values, their love. John's company would thrive for decades, eventually passing to the next generation. Lily's business would become one of Boston's premier event planning firms, known for transforming dreams into reality. Eleanor would live to see her grandchildren grow, spoiling them terribly and loving them fiercely. Trish and David's children would grow up alongside the Hartwell kids, cousins in everything but blood. Vanessa and Charlotte would adopt 2 children and raise them in a home filled with love and acceptance. But none of that mattered as much as this. Every single day, John and Lily would wake up and choose each other. Not because a contract required it, not because circumstances demanded it, but because love, real love, was a choice made new each morning. And they would choose each other, always. In the library, the ashes of their contract had long since been swept away. But the memory remained, not as a source of shame, but as a reminder of where they had started, of how far they had come, of how something born from desperation and necessity could transform into something beautiful and real. The story of Jonathan Hartwell and Lillian Mitchell was not a fairy tale. There was no magic, no perfect moments, just 2 broken people who found each other when they both needed saving, who made an impossible arrangement and transformed it through daily choice and commitment into something lasting. Just 2 people who proved that the best love stories are not about how you start, but about how you choose to continue, day after day, year after year, for better or worse, in sickness and health, for richer or poorer, forever. Not because a contract said so, but because their hearts did. And in the end, that was the only contract that ever mattered.